Every time the weekend comes, yeah, I know that it won't be long, yeah. So you're gonna call my phone,
Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started here in just a minute if everyone wants to find their seats.
Hey, Eric, can you unmute Evan on the Zoom?
Yeah. I love this.
Even though this has It's going.
You got any personal job? How are you?
I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to begin our Student Senate taking place on Thursday, May 31st, 2022 with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is the home of 4 federally recognized Native nations, the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band, Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was, and still is, stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. And with that, Speaker Pro Tem Saya will take it away with the first roll call.
Thank you so much, Evan. First, Anderson.
Here.
Atchison.
Here.
Barron.
Here.
Bellamy.
Here.
Broughton.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Byrne. Compton. Cranford. DePaz. Dahl.
Here.
Getz.
Here.
Grolmez.
Here.
Heatherman.
Here.
Hoffman.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Coloriquion. Kidd.
Here.
Neasley. Lister.
Here.
Perfect, thanks. Lister. Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
McFarland.
Here.
McPhee. Middaugh.
Here.
Navarro.
Here.
Oury.
Here.
Pelton.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Pineda Gomez.
Here.
Pondillo.
Here.
Richenberg.
Here.
That's not correct. Sorry, Marta. Rogers.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Salmon.
Here.
Shear. Alexa.
Here.
And Carson. Schindler.
Here.
Stout.
Here.
Talbert.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Volgamore.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Alrighty, thanks so much.
Okay, I just want to preface, I think you can probably tell I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to try my best. That being said, are there any first open period speakers? Senator,
I was just gonna say my name didn't get called, so
Oh, sorry, Ashley.
you're good. I just wanted to see that.
I think I switched you and Alex as to who's
You
who's
are
boss,
good.
so I've got it.
all right, thank you. So are there any first open period speakers? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Senator Pineda-Gomez.
Move to approve the minutes.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, the minutes stand approved. And with that, I will start with our many, many announcements. So first, applications are now live for a variety of positions for next year's term. Please see the full list and links below. So we have the Senate Executive Committee and independent positions applications and our cabinet application. Both of those close tomorrow at midnight, and interviews for those positions will be on Sunday. Next, student tickets for football and men's basketball are on sale now. Passes are $200 for both football and men's basketball, or $170 for either individual sport. And the rec is looking for volunteers to help with their life-size Mario Scooters event. Sign up to help out at the following link, and you can click the link. Next, we are seeking students to attend a meeting with an accreditation team from the Higher Learning Commission. The HLC is responsible for issuing accreditation status to the university, which allows us to disperse federal financial aid. The meeting will be taking place on Monday, April 11th at the Cottonwood Room. Contact me if you're interested in attending. And the Open Alternative Textbook Initiative will be holding their Spring 2022 OATI review on Thursday, April 20th from 1 to 2:30. We're looking for one student senator to attend this meeting. Contact me if you're interested. The Union Governing Board is looking for a student Senate representative. This is a great opportunity to serve on UGB, and it will be a year-long appointment. Again, contact me if you're interested. Next weekend, we've still yet to determine the exact day of the weekend and the times. Student senators will have the opportunity to interview with our committee chairs for committee selection. Interview is not required. However, you will be required to fill out the committee selection form so we can gauge your interest in committees. Again, contact me if you have any questions. Additionally, Student Senate uses Org Central as its student organization management platform. If you haven't yet joined Org Central or you're having any issues with your Org Central, please contact me and we can add you or get your issues worked out. And next, SGA has lapel pins. I'm wearing one. A bunch of other people are probably wearing theirs if you want to see one up close. But they are $3. If you're interested in purchasing one or more lapel pins, you can talk to me or just Venmo me and I'll get those to you. Next, the College of Arts and Science will be holding their annual Student Diversity Summit on Friday, April 8th. Come and support your fellow SGA members who will be on an interactive panel leading discussions on their diverse perspectives as they relate to our campus. If you would like to attend, will not be able to appear in person. There is a Zoom option. And SGA merchandise forms for the 2021-2022 term close Friday at midnight. There's an updated order form if you ordered SGA merchandise and would like to update your order or request a refund. And just for all of you new senators out there, this is from last year's merchandise. So you don't need to fill this out unless you want merchandise from a term where you were not a senator. And then we have our proxy form. Please fill that out if you're going to be absent from Student Senate and would like to designate a proxy. Then we have our Zoom request form. There are a variety of reasons that you can attend Senate via Zoom. If you think that one of those reasons apply to you, fill out the Zoom request form and you can get the Zoom link. Next, if you want to give props to someone in Student Senate, please fill out the Senate shout-out forms. Our new pro tempore actually will read those at the end of the meeting. And lastly, our SGA Member of the Week is incoming Chief of Staff Marta Richenberg. Marta has been working incredibly hard all week, transitioning into her new role with President Volgamore and Vice President Eback. So thank you for all your hard work, Marta. And then there is the events calendar. There is one addendum to that, amendment. On Monday, the independent position interviews will actually be moved to Sunday night. And our quote of the week is, "Far and away the best prize that life offers is the chance to work hard at work worth doing." And that's by Theodore Roosevelt. And with that, we will move into approval of appointments. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 2? Senator Lynn.
I move to consider Resolution 2.
Will the author please? It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 2. Will the author please come forward? Funnily enough, that's me. Already? You know what? There we go. This is Resolution 222302, approval of new student senator, authors me, sponsors me. Whereas there are currently 2 vacancies for the position of student senator for the College of Arts and Sciences, and whereas Adrienne McFarland has the next highest vote total of eligible and willing candidates in the 2022 KSU SGA general election in the College of Arts and Sciences, be it resolved that Section 1, the following individual be approved as a student senator for the College of Arts and Sciences, Adrienne McFarland.
Thanks, Evan. Are there any questions or corrections for the author?
Alrighty, seeing none, is there a motion to approve Resolution 2? Senator Phillips?
I move to approve Resolution 2 unanimously.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2 unanimously. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, Adrian, come on down and we can get you sworn in. Also, if you were not sworn in last week, like if you weren't here for whatever reason, go ahead and come on down and we can get you sworn in right now as well. All righty, go ahead and raise your right hand and say "I will" at the end. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Student Senator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association.
I will.
All right, Adrian, go ahead and introduce yourself. Name, major, hometown, favorite smell.
Hi, I'm Adrian McFarland. I'm a political science major. I'm from Pratt, Kansas, and my favorite smell is honeysuckles.
All right, what's up, everyone? My name's Blake Phillips. I'm currently a junior here studying management information systems and supply chain management. I am from Tonganoxie, Kansas, and my favorite smell is this brown sugar vanilla Airwick that I currently have. And I bought a lot extra for the office, but I no longer have that office, so I'm pumped to put it in my room.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 3? Senator Gomez.
I move to consider Resolution 3. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 3. Will the author please come down?
All right, Resolution 21-2203, approval of the Chief of Staff by Parker Volgamore and Jeff Ebeck, sponsors Dr. Thomas Lane and Blake Phillips. Whereas the position of Chief of Staff was sufficiently advertised via an application made available to all students who showed interest in the Kansas State University Governing Association. Whereas there were 6 applicants for this position, and whereas this individual was chosen on the basis of their leadership ability, experience, and dedication to serving the students of Kansas State University throughout the term. Be it resolved that Section 1, Marta Richenberg be approved as Chief of Staff.
All right, thanks, Parker. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? I caught the 2 corrections that are the bill number and adding student. So anyway, are there any questions or corrections? All right, seeing none, is there a motion? Senator Lynn.
I approve. No. I move to approve unanimously.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 3 unanimously. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, Resolution 3 stands approved. Marta and Maggie, you want to come on down?
All right, Marta, at the end, please just say I will, or raise your right hand as well. Thanks. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Chief of Staff and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association. I will. All right, Marta, name, pronouns, hometown, favorite smell. Major.
Can't forget that. Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Marta Richenberg. I go by she, her, and I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and I'm a junior studying history and political science. And my favorite smell, I'm gonna switch it up, because I picked a Disney one last week. I'm gonna pick another Disney one this week. Shut up. And it is going to be the smell at the confectionery on Main Street in Magic Kingdom. Best smell ever. But yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Marta. And with that, are there any director's reports? All right, seeing none, I actually have one. Ariana, if you want to pull up that presentation I sent you.
Bottom right. Yeah, like right next to the Zoom thing on the left. On the left.
That thing that looks like,
Yeah,
there you go.
right there.
Awesome, thank you. Great, thank you. So up on the screen there, you can see my contact information. So if we haven't had the chance to formally meet yet, hi, my name is Evan Porter. That is my email and that is my phone number. If you want to go ahead and add my phone number to your contact, to your contact book, you can go ahead and do that. You can just put it Speaker Evan, Evan Porter, either or works for me. Ignore the Calendly link. I actually have a appointment scheduler through Org Central, thanks Kelly, in my email signature. So if you want to schedule a time to meet with me, it's at the very bottom of my email signature and it's hyperlinked to the word here. You'll see the hyperlink when you look at that. And then my office is number 117. It's just right across the hallway in the Center for Student Involvement. So you go through these double doors, walk across, and you'll find my office. It's right next to Parker and Jeff's, and it's like in between Attorney General and the executive office. So that's where that is. And if you want to go ahead and advance the slide, Ari. So this is our timeline for the rest of the semester. So tonight, obviously, we have the election of the Speaker Pro Tempore. And then tomorrow night at midnight, we have applications due for Senate Executive Committee and the cabinet positions. So that the Senate Executive Committee is all of our committee chairs, the parliamentarian, the communications director, and the intern coordinators. So if you're interested in any of those, but you don't really have a lot of information about them, or you just want to ask some questions, you can set up a meeting with me, or you can just stop me after Senate, and I can answer any questions you may have. And if you have any questions about the cabinet positions, our fearless leaders, Parker and Jeff, are hanging out over on this side of the room if you want to catch them after the meeting and ask them some questions as well. So then for those position interviews, those will take place on Sunday, April 3rd. Pending the decision for the pro tempore tonight, we will have a little bit more information about that, and you'll get that information either very, very, very early in the morning. I'm talking like 12:02 a.m. on Saturday. I'll get that email sent out, or it'll be like after I wake up in the morning, so like 8:30. Either way, that'll have a place for you to sign up for an interview time and a little bit more information about what the nature of the interviews are going to be. So just look for that email if you have submitted or are going to submit a Senate Executive application. And then after that, on April 7th, we will swear in the whole Senate Executive Committee and Cabinet, as well as our independent positions. The next week, on April 14th, we will announce our committees and the committee positions, and we'll elect our caucus leaders. So if you are interested in running for caucus leader or don't know what that means and want a little bit more information about that, you can come meet with me, but there will be more information about exactly what the caucus leaders are on that Thursday, the 14th. And then looking forward a few weeks after that, we will have our final Senate on Thursday, April 28th, because we don't meet for Senate during dead week or finals week, and that's true for both semesters. So yeah, if you want to click the next slide. So I want to talk a little bit, just briefly, about what the legislative process looks like in Student Senate. So the first thing that I wanted to hit on is what is a bill and what is a resolution. So far this year, we have only passed resolutions. And the most succinct way that I know to describe a resolution is when you want to say something. So we passed a commendation that was a resolution. It's a commendation to men's basketball coach Bruce Weber, but it's a resolution because it's something that we want to say to the university, the Manhattan community, or the state of Kansas more broadly, or really any person you can send a resolution to. And then a bill is more when you want to do something, like you want to amend our governing documents. We had a lot of those last term. Tons and tons and tons of bills. They are something that you pass when you actually want something to happen, like you want action to be taken. That is when you pass a bill. So an example, like I said, with resolutions, the example would be a commendation, and then, like I said, with the bills, the example would be the governing documents edits. If you want to go to the next slide, Ari, please. And then looking at what it takes to get a piece of legislation to the floor of Student Senate for a vote. Step one is always going to be to submit it to the Senate Operations folder via Org Central, and those are due Monday nights at midnight. So I've mentioned Org Central a few times. If you haven't looked at Org Central yet, will you go ahead and open your computers and go to Org Central with me, if you want to. If you know how to get there, it's not that big a deal. But if you go to Org Central and you get signed in, there will be a little tab up at the top that says Groups. If you click that, it populates a drop-down menu, and you can click Student Governing Association. And from there should be an option somewhere in your list of options to click on Files. So you go to Files, and then you click Documents, and then you click Legislation. It's a bit of a long file pathway to get there, but that is where you will find the Submit to Senate Operations folder. Like I said, if you have a bill or a resolution, you upload them there before Monday at 11:59 p.m. That is the hard cutoff. We were kind of soft on that last year, but we're going to really enforce that this year. If you want something on the agenda for the following Thursday, get it in Monday at 11:59, or we won't consider it on the agenda. And then the second step in the legislative process is it gets edited by Senate Operations. So if you're a new senator and you don't know what Senate Operations is, Senate Ops is one of our 6 standing committees. It's responsible for overseeing the editing of legislation, and there's a couple other jobs that Senate Ops carries out throughout the year, but that's probably the biggest one, is getting it edited by Senate Operations. And once that happens, it'll get put on the agenda by me, and then we will bring it to the floor for introduction on that Thursday. So the author, whoever wrote it, will come up here and read off the bill, read off the resolution. They'll take questions, they'll take corrections, like the process that you've seen a couple times now already. And then the third step in our legislative process is that legislation getting referred to a committee. So once we have our 6 standing committees plus the Senate Executive Committee, me as the speaker, one of my jobs is to decide where legislation gets sent, because we send everything to a committee and it comes back to us with a recommendation from that committee. So just based on like what the language in the bill is or what the topic area that it covers, it can get sent to any of our committees. The committee will discuss it and vote on it in their next committee meeting, either Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. And they will either vote to refer it out favorably, unfavorably, or with no recommendation. And those votes will appear on the agenda with the legislation once we have some legislation that goes through a committee and comes out with a reference. And then lastly, we have our Zoom transcript in the way, but that talks about when when legislation goes into final action. So that is when we actually get to debate and vote on pieces of legislation. So this is a whole big 2-week process from the day that you submit it to Senate Operations on Monday before midnight to the very following Thursday, when we get to debate and vote on the legislation. And then Student Senate will get to, obviously, we will recognize speakers to give either positive or negative debate, and then we will take a roll call vote more often than not. So we will get to that process later in the year, and I'll walk us through it when we get there, because I know there's a lot of people in the room that aren't familiar with how our voting process works, but that is a general overview of the legislative process. And then the last slide we already kind of went through. It just shows the file pathway in Org Central to get to the Submit to Senate Operations folder. Just to repeat it, it's Files, Documents, Legislation, Submit to Senate Operations. If you have any questions about that at any time, or you're having trouble finding it, or you can't access these files, because I know there are some weird glitches with Org Central every once in a while where a member can't access any of the group's documents, reach out to me. I would be more than happy to upload it for you, but more often than not, I would prefer if you just put it in the Senate Operations folder yourself, because that's easier for all of us. But yeah, I think that is everything that I had to talk about tonight.
Does anyone have any questions for the speaker?
All right,
Alrighty,
thank you.
thanks so much.
Alrighty, and with that, we will now move into general orders. So if you were here last week, this process is going to look exactly like it did last week when we elected the Speaker of the Student Senate. That's me. Sorry. Yeah, so with that, I am now seeking a motion to open the floor for nominations. Senator Long?
I move to open the floor for nominations. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to open the floor for nominations. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, the floor now stands open for nominations, so feel free to raise your placard and nominate any person in the room at any time. Senator Kidd?
I nominate Senator Lynn. Second.
Senator Lynn, do you accept the nomination?
I sure do.
All right, thank you, Senator Lynn. Senator Rogers?
I nominate Senator Pineda-Gomez.
Senator Pineda-Gomez, do you accept?
I do.
All right, thank you, Senator Pineda-Gomez. Are there any other nominations on the floor? All right, seeing none, I am now seeking a motion to close the floor for nominations. Senator Atchison.
I move to close the floor for nominations. Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to close the floor for nominations. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the floor now stands closed for nominations. So Peyton and Juan, if you want to come up here. Sorry, I'm going to throw your names at a random number generator, and we will decide who gets to speak first. Alrighty, so it is going to be Senator Pineda-Gomez first, followed by Senator Lynn.
CSI?
Yes, please.
How's everyone doing tonight?
Solid. Better. Good, how are you?
Feeling phenomenal. No place I'd rather be.
Can you sing for us?
No.
Out of here.
Strike one.
Get out of here.
Did you sing in your chief of staff interview, Marta?
Did I? No. But I will right now. Let's hear it.
We already heard that. No.
No.
I would like the record to state that I was all for Marta singing.
Can we get that on the minutes?
Look at Marta Richenberg on YouTube. She'll be sad.
I know what I'm doing with my time out in the hall. I was going to say, I know what I'm doing when I'm out in the hall. No, looking at
All right, Juan, you can take it away whenever you're ready.
Okay. Let me set up this timer real quick. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Juan Pineda-Gomez, and tonight I will present to you as to why I want to become your next Speaker Pro Tempore for the Student Senate of the 2022-2023 term. Maybe.
Switching them on the other team.
Am I actually? Okay. Momentarily, I will present to you. Yeah, I should be. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So for a little off the bat, like I said, my name is Juan Pineda-Gomez. I'm a sophomore studying biomedical engineering and minoring in political science. Colloquially, I'm from Lenexa, Kansas. My favorite smells are summer rain and campfire. I'm a huge outdoors guy, so I really have to put those two up there. My email is attached at the bottom. It is my name at ksu.edu. Should you have any questions, or if you ever want to talk about K-State, whatever it is, please feel free to reach out. Now, if you allow me to be candid with you for a second, I'll explain to you why I am actually running for this position. As many of you saw in my email, I'm running for this position for a few reasons. Off the bat, I am a first-generation immigrant and a first-generation college student. I'm standing before you today at K-State due to my parents' extremely hard work and a number of blessings that I've received. All of this in my life has really inspired me to give back to the K-State community and really make a positive impact and a positive change so that maybe somewhere down the line there can be another Juan Pineda Gomez that has the chance to experience the same amazing experiences that I've been able to experience today. And so, moving on, for my SGA experience, I was an intern at the end of my freshman year, and then I became a senator, a caucus leader for College of Engineering, and a Student Services Fee Committee vice chair all last year. Now, I think these specific leadership roles have given me experience that will be valuable in the Speaker Pro Tempore position. Specifically as a caucus leader, the Speaker Pro Tem deals with all the college caucuses, and having been in that previous position, I think I know exactly how to work with the college caucuses in helping them achieve their goals. As well as being in the Student Services Fee Committee and being the vice chair, I learned really quickly that I needed to take good minutes, and the Speaker Pro Tem also takes minutes during Senate and Senate executive committees, as well as being on that committee has helped me gain knowledge about how to deal with finances. And as some of you know, the Speaker Pro Tem will assume the treasurer's duties next year, so that will be very valuable for the Pro Tem to have. Moving on, for my candidate platforms. My candidate platforms are all centered around building bridges, whether that is building bridges towards a more diverse community, whether that is building bridges towards the K-State community as a whole and increasing engagement, or building bridges within the SGA, between branches and between senators. I think it is extremely important, and I will now go into my first subpoint. So for building diversity, first of all, what I want to start with diversity is I want to solicit multicultural Greek chapters. In my mind, I think this is an easy way to attract multicultural students that are already engaged on campus towards SGA. More than that, I want to engage with multicultural student organizations, and I have a very specific way in which I want to do that. As you can see up there, I want to attend their meetings first, form that relationship, and then invite them, extend that hand out, so to speak, towards them coming to SGA. I think this is very important because if you're reaching out to a group of underrepresented, historically marginalized people, you're not going to be like, hey, come show up to this room full of people that you don't know, during which you'll have no idea what's happening. Like, we're simply not going to increase our diversity by doing that. I think it's very important that we form those connections first, that we form those relationships, and that we're like, hey, now that I've seen what you do, come and take a look, see how we do things over there. See that, you know, it's not so bad after all, quote unquote. Next, and this other subpoint is actually a really big dream of mine. Still same side, yeah. This other subpoint is a big dream of mine, and that is presenting to Hispanic groups in Spanish about SGA. That is something that would just, you know, kind of make me extremely happy. I have all sorts of anecdotes as to how it would make me feel, but Spanish is my first language, and SGA, as you can tell, is something that I'm very passionate about. And so getting the chance to put those two together would really be amazing for me, and I think it would be amazing for the organization as well. Next, I want to work with the Multicultural Engineering Program and other departmental multicultural programs to create joint events and joint event programming. I use the Multicultural Engineering Program just because that's one that I'm extremely familiar with, being in the College of Engineering. But I know that they and other departmental multicultural programs set up projects all year long. They set up programs all year long, and they already have like a list of students that routinely attend them. And I think that is a group of students that we could really appeal to and get into SGA. And lastly, I want to bring in SGA and K-State alumni. It's kind of covered by the subtitles, but I want to bring in SGA and K-State alumni to the required diversity training session for the Speaker Pro Tem that they're required to do. Next, moving on. For increasing engagement, I want to revamp SGA Week. I know we hear about it every time, but I want to table at new places, such as the Rec Hale Library, Engineering Hall, the Business Building, and other new locations. It is simply true that not every student interacts with the union on a daily basis, and I think by tabling at new locations, we'll appeal to a whole new demographic of students that we just haven't before. Additionally, I do want to host an end of the week carnival on Anderson Lawn. You know, we always also talk about, you know, here in SGA, we're not all work and no play, and I think this would be an excellent way to just show people that, you know, and this is something that we can go around talking to dorms for, talking to Greek houses for. Really, anybody can just show up and be like, hey, just come hang out with us, we'll have a good time. I think that'd be an excellent way to increase engagement. Next, for the college caucuses, I would not want to interfere with their individual goals, but rather what I want to do is at the beginning of the term, I want to ask the caucuses to each set up their own list of goals. And as the term progresses, anytime we have college caucus time, I want to go around to all the caucuses and ask them how they're progressing and ask them how I can help. I think this is the best way to do it because by asking them a list of goals and going around and checking on progression as the term goes by, you're holding accountability from all the caucuses. But additionally, by going around and asking how you can help, you can keep things from getting stagnant and help the ball keep moving, so to speak. And lastly, I do want to attend President's Council. President's Council, as the name implies, is the council of all the K-State the presidents of all K-State organizations. And as some of us are well aware now, presidents do have speaking rights in Senate. And so I think it would be awesome to be able to attend that council, remind all those organization presidents of that, and then encourage them to engage. And my last platform is fostering communication. I want to continue to build a legacy of a welcoming, inclusive Senate. That was a key part of my experience this past year, and I would like it to be a part of all your experiences this coming year. To do that, I want to meet with all new senators by the end of September. I think this was an old version of the PowerPoint, but I want to meet with all new senators by the end of September, ask them why they joined SGA, what their goals are, so that we can form that relationship and they can feel comfortable approaching me when they need help. And next, I want to make a promise that I will answer all your questions, or if you ask me something that I don't know, I will certainly go and find out, and we can both learn together. And lastly, I want to facilitate candid conversations and discussions because there will be nights that we have very hot debates about very controversial topics. But I think what's most important about SGA is that at the end of the session, we walk out of those doors and we all remain friends. Next, I want to give a bi-weekly report on the Senate Exec Committee. I think as the person that takes minutes for this committee, it would be extremely easy to do this, and it would also be in the effort to increase transparency. That way we can show the Senate as a whole, like, hey, this is where K-State SGA leadership has been these past 2 weeks, and this is where SGA leadership will be over the next 2 weeks. I think that's an awesome way to increase that transparency. And lastly, I want to highlight, I guess not lastly, but I want to highlight SGA to the student body as well. I know previous speakers had sent monthly reports to K-State today. I want to continue doing that and continue helping in that sense. But I also want to increase SGA coverage in the collegiate. I don't know about all of you guys, but I open K-State Today maybe a few times a semester, but I know that anytime there's a new version of the collegiate out, I at least skim it to see if there's something interesting going on. So I think that'd be a great way to increase diversity and engagement and transparency. Lastly, I want to maintain neutrality when appropriate and focus on enabling others, which I think is a key role of the Speaker Pro Tem position. It's not to be a voice of leadership and a voice of charge. I think it's to be a voice of encouragement and a voice of inclusivity. So with that, in summary, Ari, thank you. In summary, my experience is listed as an intern senator, SSF vice chair, and College of Eng caucus leader. And my platforms, along with their main goals, are building diversity, and I would do that by attending MSO meetings and extending invitations, increasing engagement in a way such as the SGA Week Carnival, and fostering communication. And that's by continuing to build that legacy of inclusivity and welcoming. And so with that, I invite you all to take part in this with me, and Ari, thank you. And so take part in this with me, and I invite you to build bridges with me together. I'm now open for questions.
All right. Thank you, Senator Pineda Gomez. Are there any questions? Senator Phillips.
Yeah, so one of the new duties of the Speaker Pro Tempore is managing the SGA budget. Can you talk about some experience that you've had with finances and just how that will help you in your role as Speaker Pro Tem?
Yeah, thank you, Blake. So, like I mentioned during my presentation, over this past year, I got the chance to be on the Student Services Fee Committee, which deals with the student services fee budget as a whole. Now, those are very large numbers, but I think that did give me the experience and helped me feel more comfortable in dealing with a budget and managing it, which is why I feel confident that heading into next year, dealing with a much smaller SGA budget would be not only manageable, but I think it's something I could really excel at.
Senator Salmon.
You talked about how you want to remain neutral when appropriate. Can you give me an example of when remaining neutral would be, when not remaining neutral would be appropriate, when you would speak on something?
Right. I think that's a good point, RJ. So I think obviously if I were ever to write any legislation, I would have to debate on it, which at that point I couldn't remain neutral. That's obviously the softball, but there are a few times if we were ever, I don't know, taking speaking rights away from a group or adding speaking rights, just real crucial elements to student government and how we function as a body. I think maybe those times are the only times that I'd consider really stepping forward instead of letting the body decide on its own.
Senator Kidd.
Yeah, so describe a time where you made a mistake. What did you do about it? How did you learn from it? How did it affect others?
Okay. I'm thinking back to senior year of high school. I was on a school politics club, and I was definitely supposed to be making the slideshow for the presentation that week. And as it happens, I thought it was somebody else, but nonetheless, we did not have a slideshow to present in front of the club that week. So obviously that was very impactful to the club because as we had the normal, just people that attended the club show up, we were all kind of scrambling to put something together last minute. And so that really taught me a lot about just organization. And I think I've definitely gotten a lot better with it. In high school, I kind of just expected to just remember everything. Now I have to input everything into a calendar, as I'm sure a lot of people have learned. But I learned more importantly, I would say, that it is really important to have a good team around you, because had I not had my team around me then, I think that would have been a disastrous meeting. I think we somehow still managed to make a decent meeting out of it. So I think I also learned a lot about having a good team around you so that you can all succeed.
Senator Navarro.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask, are you part or have any involvement in multicultural groups on campus?
Yeah, so freshman year, I was really involved with the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. This year, I actually was not able to attend most of their meetings because they happened either during committee time or on Thursday nights or on other nights where I had other commitments. I'm still in contact with them. That was kind of the main one that I was in, but like I mentioned before, I am really involved in the Multicultural Engineering program. Through that, I am part of Project Compass, which is one of their two main things. They have Compass and Maps, where you basically get paired with another multicultural engineer and you attend events throughout the year, you go to seminars, and you just have someone to reference off of and ask them about classes and whatnot. I would say that's probably my biggest multicultural organization, so to speak, that I'm involved in.
Senator Barron.
In your PowerPoint, you stated that you'd like to go around to caucuses during caucus meeting time and help them towards their goals. What goals are you hoping to see caucuses work towards in this term?
I would like to see a lot more engagement with college councils. I know specifically with the Engineering College Council, we were very fortunate to have Andrew Booz on our caucus, and he was a rock star at that, working with them. And I know not every caucus actually has their Andrew Booz, so to speak, that is super involved with their college council. I would like to see that increase a lot more, as well as open house things. I know a lot of the time that's not something that SGA really is really on hands with, but I think that's a really good opportunity to also increase SGA engagement if we have potential students coming through and they see that wow, SGA is putting on this awesome thing, and there's people that are really friendly. Maybe that's something I want to look into when I come to K-State.
Chief of Staff Richenberg.
Yeah, as being part of a losing campaign, not adding myself or anything, how do you plan to work with the rest of the executive branch and work on the relationship between those branches?
Thanks for asking that. I think that's part of like the building bridges that I plan to do, right? I definitely would like to see a very strong bridge built between the legislative and executive branch and helping them achieve their goals through the legislative process, of course. And so in that way, I would just, I obviously schedule meetings, make sure that all that is worked out with. I know specifically for Evan and his platforms, I definitely have a couple of them that I'm really passionate about. And so in that way, I'm sure that, like I've said before, we're all more similar than we're different to some degree. And so just finding that common ground and working towards that together, I would say.
Senator Gromez.
Yeah, thanks so much, Juan. My question is, my perception of the Speaker Pro Tem role is that it'll be a lot of helping senators achieve their own personal projects and just really being people can come to you with questions like you mentioned. So can you tell us about a time where you served as kind of like a mentor or someone to help someone, served as a person to help another person reach their goals?
Yeah. Okay. So during high school, I was in one of those clubs. Sorry, I was a member of the executive team my junior year. I was the only member that wasn't a senior, so I somewhat expected to become the president senior year. And when I wasn't elected senior year, I was actually named the vice president, which was like a really big surprise to me because I was like, I'm the only one with experience here, like what's going on? Nonetheless, I ended up really mentoring all the other people on that executive team because all but one of them were underclassmen. And so I worked really closely with them, explaining to them how we ran things, what our contacts were, what our possibilities for growth were. And I actually saw it really pay out the year after I graduated because I kept up with their social media, and one of them was my close friend. So I kept up with them, and the club actually really grew, and they're doing pretty well right now.
Senator Grills.
Yes. So a big part of this role is obviously relationship building, like you talked about. How do you plan on building relationships with senators that you may not already know?
Right. I think that's a great question. That was, so one of my subpoints was, one of my goals is to meet with all new senators by the end of September. Those are obviously the majority of the senators that I don't already know. As far as senators that I just didn't get to know too well last year, I would say availability is the biggest thing. So by being in the office and open to those conversations, I think it would be a really good way to just keeping the door open if you want to come in. And if not, I think also just the casual niceness. I'm thinking back to Cameron Coger, he's honestly the best at this, but just saying, hey, how's your day going, right? To someone that you don't usually talk to will be a really easy way to just keep those doors open.
Thank you.
Senator Kidd.
My question's actually for you, Speaker Porter. How much time is left for questions?
Parliamentarian O'Donoghue.
Yeah, actually time expired a little bit ago, but I was being more lenient. I'm sorry.
All right, is there a motion to extend the speaker's time, or the time for questioning? Senator Solomon.
I would do this by 5 minutes. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to extend the time for questions by 5 minutes. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, we have 5 more minutes for questions. Senator Kidd.
Yeah. Senator Pineda-Gomez, can you describe a time where you had a great deal of difficulty communicating with someone, and what made communicating with them so challenging?
Okay. Yeah, so in my fraternity, SAE, freshman year, I was the social media chair, right? And with that, I actually convinced our housing board to buy me a really expensive camera so that I could take good pictures and do the very best job that I could. However, for some reason, I was being expected from them to output a post every single day. And I tried talking to them, I tried texting them, being like, hey, just this isn't possible. There just simply isn't enough content to put out at the rate that you want me to. And it was really difficult because I would try and mention it, and then it seemed like it would just not get heard, or it wouldn't really get acknowledged. It'd be like, okay, yeah, but maybe just once a day on the story then, or once a day on this. it just, my message of like, hey, like once a day of anything is simply not manageable, wasn't getting through to some degree. And what I ended up having to do was make it really clear, instead of going between myself and the housing board, kind of stepping in with my president in the middle, who is supposed to be the middleman between all members and the housing board. I had to work with him really closely, and he was also trying to push me to put out one post a day, and I was like, listen, this just isn't possible. We simply don't have this much stuff going on. Like, either we have quality or we have quantity, but we can't have what you want and what I'm putting out like at the same rate. And I think by working with him, he really understood my side of the picture, and then both of us together went to our chapter director, and like we presented that, and he became more understanding towards the tail end of the semester.
Senator Navarro.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the carnival. How do you plan to execute it and make sure that non-SGA students actually show up?
Okay, that's great. Something that I learned over this past semester is that I actually really enjoy soliciting. Kind of a weird thing to like, but I just like to talk to like random groups of people and tell them that they should do something and tell them why. And so I think soliciting to Greek houses, multicultural Greek houses. I don't really know how you can solicit dorms, but to some degree, reaching out to the dorm population as well as just student organizations in general, and being like, hey, this will be fun. It's a cool free activity. You should do it. I think advertisement within the union would be really good for that. I know whenever they have movies, they have like that sign right in front of those main doors. I think having like free carnival would be like, oh yeah, I'll go to that, I think that would be an excellent way to do it, and I really do expect that if I put in like a lot of work, it could turn out being something really great for the organization.
Senator Phillips.
Yeah, so working as a team in the legislative branch is super important. What does your current relationship look like with Speaker Porter, and how do you plan to work with him for success?
Okay, I will be completely honest. Speaker Porter and myself have gotten to know each other better as the semester went on, but we aren't really close friends. However, I would say that Speaker Porter and myself complement each other professionally, and that he knows a lot more about Senate operations and how Student Senate is supposed to be run. And I did gain a lot more financial knowledge over the past year in student services fees. So I think we complement each other's skill sets as well as each other's personalities. So I could really see the things that I'm lacking in, him coming through for me, and the things that he may not be as strong in, me definitely backing him up on.
Are there any further questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Senator Pineda-Gomez. And yeah, Juan, if you want to just go send Peyton in, appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, I would love to use that one, thank you.
Okay, are we ready to rock and roll?
Take it away whenever you're ready.
Okay, perfect. Oh my God, SGA. The first moment I met her, I was in love with her. And I mean in love with her. Hannah Heatherman, someone who I really admire, was the one who said that quote. And it's something that has always really resonated with me. Now, I don't know how many people in here have ever been in love, but it's an emotion that is sometimes really all-consuming. You know, you think about that person throughout your day. You get excited every time you see them. There are butterflies in your stomach when you talk about them. And then you go to bed and they show up in your dreams that night. That is what my relationship with SGA is like. Since I joined this body, I've spent a lot of time doing everything I can to give back to our students. Now, I want to use my passions to give back to the body. And that's why I'm here today, to help all of you get to the place that you want to be. Because I truly am in love with this organization and the work we get to do. Oh. Okay. So who am I and how did I get here? These are two existential questions that we all have to ask ourselves. But my name's Peyton Lynn, and I'm a sophomore in secondary education with a focus in speech and theater. I'm from Tonganoxie, Kansas. I live on a farm. That's a picture of one of our cows. I really just thought it was kind of cute. And when I was making this presentation, my favorite smell was s'mores. Now, I started my journey in SGA as an intern last year. I moved on to the role of senator. I was the caucus leader of the College of Education. And then at the end of last year, Nick and I came up with the idea to create a special committee called the Special Committee on Strategic Oversight, which I chaired for the last half of this term. And then I ran for student body vice president. I didn't win that one, but every single one of these roles has taught me lessons that I could go on about for hours and hours. And I feel like I have gotten so much out of everything that I've ever had the opportunity to do in this body. So, yeah. So I want to split my presentation today into two separate sections. We're going to go over roles and goals. So I see the main roles of Speaker Pro Tempore being the three that we've got over here. The first main role is sitting on the Strategic Oversight Committee. So I talked about this a little bit a couple minutes ago. But I was the chair of Strategic Oversight Committee this past term, and I was one of the two people that actually helped get it started. So just on that front, I don't feel as if there's anyone more qualified to be sitting in that position than myself. The other part about strategic oversight is that it takes a lot of work getting these really broad, big ideas and kind of like vague passions and really translating them into actual actionable steps. That's something that I feel that I'm really good at, is kind of taking the things that I'm the most passionate about and making like concrete plans to actually get those to happen. Now, the second main role of the Speaker Pro Tem that I've got up here is Senate Secretary work. And I think organization is a really big part of this, but I think the more important skill that you have to pay attention to is the ability to communicate. This role has a lot of like sending emails, creating meetings, trying to get legislation certified, and that takes creating connections, making sure that you have good relationships with the people that you're working with, and communicating effectively and professionally with all of the people involved. And those are all things that I see as really big, strong suits of mine. If there's one thing that I think that I'm relatively good at, it's communication. I can talk your ear off anytime. And the last thing that the Speaker Pro Tem really does that I think is super important is overseeing the college caucuses. I was the caucus leader for the College of Education this past year, and I'm gonna be honest, that was not necessarily my best work. What I saw in that position was kind of an ill-defined and very vague position that a lot of people just don't know what to do with. And
was something that I definitely fell victim to. Since I served in that role, I can really see myself taking the issues that I saw with that position and making sure that it's better in the future. Speaking of overseeing the college caucuses, that brings me on to my first goal, which is defining the college caucus leader role. So up here, I have a list of things that I would really like to be seeing our college caucus leaders do in those positions. I think right now we are really losing out on a great opportunity for outreach. College caucuses probably have the closest relationships with the people that they're actually serving. Me, as an education senator, going to clubs and organizations in the College of Education and saying, hi, my name's Peyton, I represent you, is a lot more effective than, say, Evan or like Parker or Jeff going to these organizations and saying, I'm at the top of the food chain, because honestly, they don't have a lot in common with people who are in the College of Education. I do. And so I think when we are doing our outreach and things like that, the caucus leaders and the caucuses in general are where we can be seeing a lot more effective outreach that means more to the students that we're trying to get. I would like to see the caucus leaders really heading up some of those, like getting people to vote more in their colleges, or getting our numbers for filing to increase over this next year. I would really want to charge the caucus leaders with kind of heading up some of those initiatives and really making sure that we're taking advantage of the opportunities that we have with the college caucus system. We can move on to the next one. Okay, and my second goal is connecting you as senators. As the Speaker Pro Tem, you get a lot of opportunities to meet with administration or, talk to faculty and university directors. As a senator, the opportunities that you have for those types of meetings are a lot fewer and far between. I want to use my position as Speaker Pro Tem to make sure that when you have an idea or a project that you want to pursue, that you're able to be in the ear of the people that can really help you fulfill that project and get to where you want to be. If that means that you're a little bit hesitant because you don't know where to start with a certain idea, you come to me and say, hey, I have this really great idea. What do I do now? And that gives me the opportunity to maybe reach out to someone like Dr. Lane or a representative from the CARE office and say, hey, this is a person that's really passionate about this project. Let me connect the two of you. Or if you're nervous to go to that meeting, I would be more than willing to make sure that you have someone there by your side that's, gonna make that a little bit better. We can go on to the next one. And then the third goal I have for this position is really increasing our interbranch collaboration and community. I think a lot of times in the legislative branch, we're all working on specific projects and we have the things we're passionate about, and they align really closely with things that the executive branch is working on, but you may not ever know that someone on cabinet is doing the exact same project as you are. I really want to work on making sure that we're keeping tabs between the executive and the legislative branch to connect the people that are trying to work on the same sorts of things and might have the same interests. I think that's really going to streamline some of the projects and initiatives we try to take on, and maybe decrease the redundancies when we're setting up meetings with administrators and things like that, so I don't go to an administrator a week after a cabinet member has gone to an administrator and talk about the same issue. I think it's a lot more effective and we can get things done a lot more quickly if we're working together from the beginning. The second part of this is increasing community within our body. I would really like to see us do some more fun get to know you events, and then do some community service as a really big group. I know we talk a lot about how much we care about our students and wanting to do what's best for them and really working for the students. I want to see this body really put its money where our mouth is and go out and do those community service opportunities and physically be the ones that are giving back to our university. What I hope you've gotten out of the last few minutes is that I'm here to do my best to serve each of you. I can't promise any of you that I am going to be perfect. But what I can promise you is that every day I am going to give every bit of love that I have to this organization as I did since the day I met her. So you can move on to that last one. I really look forward to serving with you all, and I would love to talk.
All right, thank you, Peyton. Are there any questions? Senator Grills.
I love how you talked about inter-branch collaboration. Can you share a little bit more with us how we would get to that inter-branch collaboration on projects and to prevent redundancies?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a really good way to do this is actually utilizing people like the pro tem and the chief of staff. I think that those are two positions that have a really good grasp of pro tem, what's going on in Senate, what kinds of projects people are working on, and then chief of staff has a really good overview of what people in cabinet are working on. And so I think as long as we keep up really good communication between those two people, we can make conscious efforts to say, Ashley, you're really, really passionate about like sustainability or something. Let me connect you with this other person in cabinet who happens to be doing a very similar project with sustainability. And so making efforts to like reach out to our members and have those meetings, set up, you know, like different meetings with the pro tem, set up meetings with the, you know, cabinet member, and making an effort to connect those people on the leadership side of things.
Senator Atchison.
Yeah, and how do you intend to handle the financial responsibilities associated with Pro Tempore and the SGA budget?
Yeah, so a lot of people might not think this about me when they, you know, look at me at first. I've had a lot of experience with funding committees through SGA. I've never been on like student services fee, but I have served on 3 funding committees since I started my time in SGA. I worked on the academic competitions team committee. I've been on SCTE and EOF, so I definitely have had experience working with funds in an SGA context. In addition to that, I've done a lot of work in Union Governing Board. I'm the vice president of that group right now, and we do things like we have to approve the budget for the Union Program Council and like review and approve the audit every year for the union. So I have a lot of different experiences working with money in those kinds of contexts. And I think as long as I'm like really intentional, working with different branch heads and stuff in those positions, that I am not worried at all about being able to handle the financial aspect of this job.
Senator Thomas.
I'd like to defer my speaking rights to Millie.
How do you plan on increasing engagement within people in this room and people outside of this room?
Yeah, so I think a really big part of increasing engagement is making sure that people are like having fun. And a really big way I see us doing that is maybe doing some more of this kind of community building stuff. I have always really, really enjoyed my time in Senate, and every time I come in here, I have a blast. I know that not everybody has that experience, because if you don't have a lot of close friends in this body, it can sometimes be a lot harder to have like an enjoyable time, and then you don't want to participate as much. It's just not as good of an experience. And so I think really making an effort to make sure that our members have the opportunities to like create relationships outside of just when we're in this room from 7 to 10 p.m. on Thursday nights is really going to help increase like our retention and also people's engagement with the body as a whole.
Senator Barron.
Yeah, so you made it one of your goals to clearly define the role of caucus leader. How do you plan on tracking their progress and ensuring that they're making good progress?
Yeah. One thing about the caucus leaders is I think that sometimes it ends up being a little bit more of a self-directed role. I really want to make sure that I'm having pretty frequent communication with those people. On that slide, I think one of the first things I mentioned was like setting up a meeting with the dean of your college. And so like in that email, I would just ask that you like CC me in the email so that I can see that you've done it. And then obviously if you're putting on, some kind of event, you're going to go to a club or organization to go speak to them, just kind of checking in really frequently with those caucus leaders and saying, hey, are you, I heard that you might be putting on this event. Do you need any help with that? Or, reaching out to them if I haven't heard a lot from that particular person lately and say like, do you need any help with, finding a club or organization to go to? Are you able to get connected with these specific people? Making sure that I'm having those frequent checks with them and then, really doing my best to kind of push them in the direction that we want to be going.
And I'm sorry, Senators, but the time for questioning has expired.
Is there a motion to extend, Senator Phillips?
I move to extend time for questions by 10 minutes.
It has been moved and seconded to extend the time for questions by 10 minutes. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, you have 10 more minutes. Senator Solomon.
What is going to be your policy on staying neutral as Speaker Pro Tempore on various bills?
Yeah, I think this is a really great question. I am somebody who for the past year of my time in this body has been really outspoken. In every role that I've held in SGA so far, it's been my responsibility to get up and really represent the students that voted me into that position. And I would say that I've done a fairly good job at making sure that I'm representing the students that voted me into that position and giving them fair representation in this body. I don't think that because I did that work, it means that I am disqualified from being able to take on a different role. The Speaker Pro Tem is a different role with different expectations and different responsibilities. And so I look a lot to, Senator Phillips here, and before he became Speaker, he got up and debated all of the time. He was a really outspoken senator his first year in this body. And I don't think anyone would make the argument that he had a hard time being objective. When I move into this role, I know that it's the responsibility that I'm taking on that I have to be a little bit more objective and take things at their face value rather than letting my own opinions sway them. And so I think that is something that I have come to accept and I fully understand about the position that I'm ready to take on.
Senator Kidd.
Hi, Peyton. Can you speak more about your involvement on campus outside of SGA and how that can contribute to being a strength with your hopeful role with Speaker Pro Tempore?
Yeah, I'm pretty heavily involved outside of this body. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm the Vice President of Union Governing Board. I also serve as recruitment chair for the College of Education Ambassadors, and then I'm in charge of retention for my sorority. I'm in Alpha Chi Omega. And so all of that other involvement gives me a really wide reach to a lot of different people. The people that I interact with in this body are very different than the people that I live in the sorority house with, and those are very different people than who I interact with in Union Governing Board or College of Ed Ambassadors. And so I think being someone that has that wide of a reach and is so involved on campus, I really have the ability to talk a lot about this body and the types of work we do. I know that I talk to the girls in the sorority all of the time about the things that are going on in here, and I know that some of them had never heard of student government before I showed up. And so I think even just getting more people engaged by talking about it is something that I have done a lot in the past year, and I definitely intend on keeping up in the future.
Senator Gomez.
Yeah, thanks, Peyton. Oh goodness, words are so hard. I apologize. This role, you're going to be working with a lot of different people and helping them achieve their own goals.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about a time when you have helped other members, whether it be an SGA or another organization on campus, when you have helped to mentor them or help them achieve their own goals?
Absolutely. I think a lot about my major, like as an education major, I'm in a lot of positions where I'm like helping like students and stuff like that. And so I think a lot about a student that I actually had in one of my field experiences last semester who was just kind of really struggling to stay engaged in the class. And we were having a really tough time like figuring out what we can do to make sure that this person was like not a distraction, but was also getting the most that they could out of that class that they were in. And when I sat down and talked with that student about it, we were able to kind of like get to the root of the problem, which was something that was happening completely independent of school that was affecting their ability to, you know, like actually be able to focus. And so I think having the experiences like that, where I've been in a literal teacher's position, really gives me a lot of strength when I'm coming into these roles and saying like, I really want to help you. What can I do to get you there? Or what are the problems that are not allowing you to get to the place that you want to be? I think finding the actual root of those problems and seeing like what are the barriers that are in the way is a really good first step to identifying, you know, what we can do later on down the line to like get someone there.
Chief of Staff Richenberg.
Okay, thank you so much. As somebody who is on a losing campaign, how do you plan to work with the executive branch and not let some of those stuff get in the way?
Yeah, this is a really great question. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of sucks losing a campaign, and I have a lot of feelings. I had a lot of feelings about that entire thing when it was happening. And I think it's really important to understand that every single person in this room is here for the same reason. And that is to serve students. I'm here to serve students just as much as, you know, Parker and Jeff are here to serve students. And just because we ran an election against each other and maybe we have different ideas about how to get there, it's really important to keep in mind that like we have the same end goal. And I think that that is something that I can really work with. I like to assume the best in everybody. And so I think as long as I understand like we all have the same purpose and the same goals, that's a really important thing to keep in mind, and it won't stop me from working with anybody.
Senator Outry.
So Senator Gomez made it a major point in his speech to say he wants to get multicultural outreach. And he was said about soliciting, going in and talking, and using his personal experience to connect with these people. I was wondering, how are you going to do that?
Yeah, I think a really, important part of getting people connected is just by talking to them. When I was actually working on the student body presidential campaign, we did a lot of specific outreach to multicultural students, and I was able to create a lot of really great connections with presidents of multicultural student organizations. We had an awesome relationship with the president of Halo. Her name's Sophia, and she was a really great resource to help us not only connect with the students in her group, but also get us contact information and ways to connect with people in other multicultural organizations. And so I think like having those established connections already, and then just continuing to go out and make an effort to talk to those students, to try to get them interested and understand that like we are here to serve you, and figuring out what it is that we can do to really help those students out.
Senator Scheer.
Yeah. How do you plan on rectifying the increased role of college caucuses with the length of Senate?
Yeah. I think an important part of the college caucus ideas that I have would be having increased number of caucus times. And sometimes that does make Senate a little bit longer. I think there are definitely things that we can do to kind of cut out time, especially when we are on nights that have caucus time involved. The speaker pro tem a lot of times is the one who's in charge of inviting first open period speakers. And so maybe on a night where college caucus time is on the agenda, that also happens to be a night where we don't have a first open period speaker. And then really just making an effort to kind of cut down on that transition time in between certain parts of Senate, I think is another good place that we can kind of cut down on the length of Senate. I never want to discourage anyone from like talking or debating, but I definitely think there are other areas of Senate, like those transition times or maybe like that first open period, where we can kind of push and pull on the time.
Senator Navarro.
Yeah, not to offend Senate nor SGA, but there's a growing opinion among K-State students that SGA does little to nothing for them, and therefore decreasing student involvement. What would you do to address that misconception, or do you think that this is something that needs to be addressed?
Yeah, I think a really big reason why people think that we don't do anything is just because they don't have the exposure. This is a body of, 60 people, and we all know that the work we are doing matters. But when we are not like reaching out to our student population and helping them to understand what it is that we're actually doing every Thursday night, it's really easy to have that misconception. I think when I was talking about college caucuses, this is a really great way to kind of get that misconception away. Part of the role that I really want to see caucus leaders and caucuses as a whole take on is going to student organizations within their college and saying, hi, I represent you, this is who I am, this is what I do. And so I think if we're really making an intentional effort to talk to the clubs and organizations and talk to the students of our colleges, that is not only a really great opportunity for outreach, but a really great opportunity to teach the student body what it is we do and how we actually serve them. That might also mean that they come to us with more problems, and that would be great.
And I'm sorry, speakers, but the time for questions is over.
Senator Atchison.
Move to extend the time by 10 minutes.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to extend the time for questions by 10 minutes. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, we have 10 more minutes for questions. Andrew Booz.
Yep. Yeah, you had mentioned that you don't feel like there's going to be any issue with you learning the financial side of this job. I was wondering if you could talk about a time that you had to learn something new and how you managed that, kind of in the same way that you would be doing in this position.
Definitely. I'm somebody who's really bad at Excel, and that's just something that I do not understand at all. And it is also a program that I love to use, which are two very conflicting things about me. And so when I realized just how useful that kind of tool could be, I really made the effort to like sit down and kind of try to understand what different different ways that you can use it and how to like do different functions on there. This is maybe a silly example that I'm giving you right now, but I think that I am somebody who is really dedicated. And when I put my mind to something, like learning how to use Excel, for example, it's something that I will get done. And so if there are things that I really need to learn about helping with the SGA budget and managing that, it is something that absolutely will get done without a doubt.
Jessica Binkley.
Yep. So you've mentioned being involved in a lot of different clubs and organizations. Things are bound to line up at the same time as Senate or when you have things relating to Senate. How are you going to prioritize, and does Senate take priority over these other clubs, or do they take priority?
Yeah. Rachel actually reminded me of this sentence that I said the other day. And at one point, I said something along the lines of, I don't care about finishing the reading that I have for my next class because I'm working on SGA, and that work just matters so much more than some random reading. And I think that that still is something that holds very true for me. Since I joined SGA, this has been the thing that I am willing almost to a fault to give every bit of my time and energy to, and I spend a lot of hours working on this body. It's something that absolutely takes priority above almost everything else that I am involved in. I've gotten really good at being able to balance those responsibilities and push and pull when the responsibilities of one organization are a little bit heavier one week and the responsibilities of this organization are maybe a little bit lighter. I think that I've done a really good job at being able to balance that so far, and I don't foresee it being an issue in the future.
Senator Kidd.
Hi, Peyton. Can you describe a time when you've made a mistake and how did you learn from it? How did it affect others?
Yeah. I think when it comes to this body in particular, I've made a lot of mistakes. Something that happened a lot to me this past term is that I would get up here and debate, and somebody would debate against me, and I had a little bit of a hard time separating the person from what it is that they were saying. And I think that that created in my mind a level of animosity that was just a little bit unhealthy for me. I was really quick to take things and like things that people said and disagreements that we have in this body and attach that to the character of that individual. And that's something that I'm not particularly proud to say, but it's something that I feel like I've gotten a lot better at as the year goes on. Andrew is a really good example of this. He's somebody that I spent the first entire semester of my term arguing against so often, and there were so many times where I was like, Jesus, I hate this guy. And then we started having a few more conversations, and the more I interacted with him, the more I realized that just because we disagree on the way to get something done does not mean that we have to be mortal enemies. And so I am doing a lot more in my own head to make sure that I'm not letting those relationships get affected by what's going on in this room.
Are there any further questions? Senator Phillips.
Yeah, so Peyton, what excites you most about potentially serving in this role?
What excites me most about this role is the ability that it gives to have really special connections with the people in this room. As an education major, I'm really, really passionate about teaching people and helping people get to the place that they want to be. While I love being an advocate for students and taking on really, big projects and being passionate about things, I get just as much satisfaction out of helping somebody reach the goal that they are trying to get to. And so I am so excited to reach out to the senators in this body and talk about what it is they're passionate about and maybe see some of those passions come to fruition when it comes to projects and legislation in the future.
Senator Kidd.
One more question for you. Define success in your own words.
Success to me is when at the end of the day, regardless of how something turned out, you can say that you're proud of what you did. When Marta and I ran for student body president and vice president, we lost the election, and that was really hard in the moment. But after that, I looked at her and I was like, there's not a single thing that I would change. And I think that being somebody who is really grounded in my beliefs and confident in the steps that I take and confident that the steps that I'm taking are right and that they're serving people in the best ways possible, is just about the only way you can define success. You're not going to win every time, and that's something that I've had to learn the hard way. But as long as at the end of the day, you're proud of the work that you've put in and you don't have regrets about what you did, I don't think there's any losing.
Are there any further questions? All right, seeing none, Peyton, you can go ahead and head back to the CSI.
Ooh. It's real hot up here. I'm sweating buckets.
The thermostat is down as low as it can go. Beyond that, there's nothing.
We have to turn it completely off instead of down to get it stop putting out heat. I don't know if it'll work.
Blake, do you know how to do that?
Do you want me to call the union manager?
If you can get him to pick up. I would appreciate a motion for like a 5-minute recess.
To do, decide to have a 5-minute recess.
It has been moved and seconded for a 5-minute recess. Are there any objections? Okay, we will stay in recess for 5 minutes. Please be back in your seats at 8:34.
How's it going? Well, I don't know how you're wearing a hoodie.
It's colder over there.
No, actually, that's right under it.
Really? I didn't realize you were here. I didn't see you. God, it's just so hot. What? My ears were like burning the entire time I was sitting there. Holy crap. It's so low too. Like the temperature, it's insane.
Probably because the heat's on. It does feel, I think the door being open has helped him.
It does. It does. It's just we can't. Well, we could leave it open and just close the outside door, but.
I don't know. That sounds like a smart thing to do.
I heard it right off the bat. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, I'm gonna be working on a display.
I know.
Alrighty. We are going to go ahead and come back to order, so if everyone can please find their seats for me. Blake, please find your seat. Thank you.
No, it's so scary. It's hard to get about. No, it's hard to get. Are we gonna do that?
Okay, now that we have heard presentations from both of the candidates, we're going to go ahead and enter our debating period. If you're not familiar with how this works, we will just recognize speakers, well, one for Juan, one for Peyton, and we'll just go back and forth in that pattern until we have exhausted the number of speakers. So with that, I am now seeking any speeches for Juan Pineda-Gomez. Gus Scharnhorst?
I exercise my rights to speak as a club president. There went my pen. Hello, 22-23 Student Senate. Wow, it's a lot better than that. The doors are open, it's cooler, that's all we need. I was loving those questions, by the way. Some people were asking behavioral interview questions. Those are my favorite. They are such big hitters. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gus Scharnhorst. I was a senator last term, and I was awarded Senator of the Year. A graduating senior as well in political science and philosophy. Juan asked me to speak for him, and when he did, I was more than happy to do so. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Juan
in ways he can't really talk about himself in his presentation. I thought his platform was great, but I'm going to tell you about his qualities, the traits that are difficult to talk about in first person. They're both traits that make him an excellent speaker pro tem and an excellent representative of students in general. Juan is dedicated, empathetic, and approachable. So let's talk about how he's dedicated. I was actually one of the first people to suggest that Juan run for an officer position in the legislative branch. And we sat down, have a couple drinks, and I hadn't gotten to know him personally very well. But over my 1 year as his colleague in Senate, I was able to observe traits that you didn't need to know him personally to identify. He talked about how he's an engineer and how difficult it is compared to something like arts and sciences, how you have to learn hard work and time management skills. And when I asked him to run, he said, my first concern is if I'll have time to do the job right. And that's one of the many ways that he's dedicated. He wants to make sure he's a good representative for students at every step of the way. Next, let's talk about how he has empathy. So Juan is open-minded, and I think if you served last term, you can see that. He was thinking critically about debate during every single final action. And you never knew which way he would vote, right up until he did. This is because he's thinking about students at every step of the way. Not only because that's his job as a representative, but also because he has a distinct personal perspective. Like he said in his presentation, he's a first-generation student and first-generation immigrant, and he's also a non-native English speaker. All this means that he is the candidate for diversity, and it's clear in his platform that it's something he's prioritizing. Finally, Juan is approachable. Like I said, I didn't know him personally too well, but I knew based on his traits that he would make a great leader in the next term. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, would you like to grab a drink, get some coffee, something like that? And he said, absolutely. And within the first 10 minutes of us sitting down, I knew we were going to be friends. Like he said during his presentation, if he can't answer your question, he'll make sure it gets answered. And that's because he's just willing to talk to you no matter what you want to talk about, be it SGA or just try to make friends. So those are the traits he has: dedication, empathy, and approachability. Those are the qualities of a great speaker pro tem, and they're Juan's qualities. Vote Juan.
All right, thank you. So now we will recognize a speaker for Peyton Lynn. Are there any speakers for Peyton Lynn? Senator Salmon.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to speak for Peyton Lynn. The goal of the speech is not to commodify Peyton as a candidate. Rather, it is to tell you who she is and let her character convince you of her capacity for and excellence in the position of Speaker Pro Tempore. I would like to talk on three things today. First, our friendship over the past couple years. Secondly, her character as an individual and as a leader. And finally, what your expectations should be for her in the position. First, on friendship. I had to think very hard about how the timeline of events happened over the past 2 years of knowing Peyton, largely because we have had a lot of fun doing a lot of different things that have all kind of blended together. First, I kind of knew of her through Nick because he debated her in college, or in high school debate in forensics, and so I just knew of her existence. But I got the chance to meet her in college forensics when I came to K-State. I was honestly kind of intimidated by her and her skill within forensics because she was a extraordinary speaker, was amazing with interpersonal skills, and was just a fun person to hang around in general. But as I got to hang out with her more at the tournaments, and these tournaments, for your context, were just in a building on K-State's campus because we couldn't go anywhere because of COVID. Those times were very enjoyable to not only get to know Peyton better, but learn from her and become a better speaker myself. At the same time that was happening, we both joined the SGA intern program, which was also a blast. She put up with a lot of my nonsense that I put forth within SGA, especially on the project we had to do of changing the student services fee, which was fun. But I also got to learn a lot about her passions, the one she spoke of in her speech, and also more I hope to speak on here in a couple minutes. And we became significantly better friends. Out of this came this friend group of me, myself, Nick, Jacob, Peyton, and 2 of our friends in forensics that did a lot of random things together and allowed me the opportunity to genuinely know who Peyton is as a person. I got to hang out with her outside the professional context of both the forensics program and also the SGA intern program, and we did things from like dressing in the nicest clothes you could possibly do just to go eat pizza somewhere, to like going on weird adventures late at night that we probably should have gotten by ghosts, but like, it's fine. Her vibe as an individual just kind of grew on me over those years, and it has been really nice to get to know her as an individual. Put simply, Peyton is a joy to be around. If you couldn't tell it from her speech, she is someone who is passionate. She's someone who just loves talking to people, and she has become more than just someone who is an SGA friend to me. I believe she would strive and ultimately succeed in developing similar relationships with all of you in this chamber, particularly in the role of Speaker Pro Tempore, which is for facilitating conversations and developing those relationships. Secondly, on her character. Put simply, if you searched up passionate in the dictionary, a picture of Peyton's face would, or at the very least, should come up. Every single day, Peyton wakes up and intentionally chooses to put her energy towards helping others. Specifically, she cares about leaving things better than she found them. This can be seen in a variety of different instances. For example, she does a lot of DEI work, and she's very passionate about advocating for underrepresented communities. She passed legislation to put on the closed captioning we have on our Zoom. She was on the DEI committee last year, and she did a lot of work there. And like she said, she's met with student organizations that are specifically multicultural organizations to understand how this body can genuinely connect with those organizations and serve them by working both with and for them. Secondly, she works on sexual assault prevention awareness things. She worked with Nick very closely on the Greek sexual assault prevention survey that went around to hundreds of Greek members and was a success. She wrote a resolution on that, and in general, she is both an advocate and an ally. And finally is on teaching. If it wasn't evident, she is an extraordinary speaker and also an extraordinary teacher when it comes to large bodies like this. And she is most happy when she is helping people realize their potential and finding places where they can succeed, particularly in the context of SGA. Helping people situate themselves in areas where they can succeed in this body is at the core of what Speaker Pro Tem does, and I'm very confident there's no other individual who can do that job better than Peyton Lin. And finally, on your expectations. There are 3 things you can expect from Peyton in this position. First, and I think most obviously, is passion and perseverance. She is going to do this job, and she is going to do it well. It is something she has wanted to do for a very long time, and she's going to throw all of the passion I have mentioned in this speech at this position. Secondly is communication and support. As she said, she is an extraordinary communicator, both in a public speaking sense and also just one-on-one, and she is going to support you as individuals, as leaders, and as this group as a whole to ensure we succeed in our missions that SGA puts forth. And I think most importantly is preparation and curiosity. This is one I want to speak on specifically. Peyton brings diverse yet applicable skills and passions to the Speaker Pro Tem position. But for what she lacks, she makes up for in curiosity and preparation. I think I'm speaking for both her and me when I say Peyton's experiences and character have prepared her well to succeed in this role, but she recognizes there will be instances where she must ask questions to succeed. When she doesn't understand, she will ask these questions, and she's going to rely on all of you who know what you're talking about in various instances to do that role for her. Her job is to learn what you are good at and then facilitate those conversations and those strengths to accomplish our goals. So I honestly didn't think I would be speaking first for 2 different candidates this election cycle, but I hope I've gotten across to you that who Peyton is, like, genuinely. Not someone who is a leader, not someone who is speaking to you for the very first time, but someone who is a leader, who is an advocate, and above all else, she's a friend who will help every single person in this room succeed at K-State and succeed in SGA. I would urge you to vote for Peyton in this race. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Solomon, for that debate. Are there any speeches for Juan Pineda-Gomez? Senator Stout.
Juan was actually one of the first people I met when I came to K-State. He mentioned he was an SAE. I'm in Farmhouse, and we're separated by a patch of grass no wider than this podium. So we're not in the same house, but we are neighbors. And I remember one night I come outside, and I found Juan laying in that patch of grass I'm not. He might not remember this night, but there is a point to this. That's when I first met Juan, and I can tell you, when I met him, I never thought I'd be standing up here saying that he should be the pro tem of the Student Senate. And that just goes to show how far Juan has come in the short time that we've been here. Juan and I haven't been the closest of friends, but we've been close enough to where I've been able to see him grow throughout my time here at Kansas State. I think one critical aspect of growth is humility, and that's something that Juan has. I've seen him take these steps from laying in the patch of grass to the man that he is now, and I admire that about him. I think another thing about Juan that is very accurate is when he said he wants to build bridges. For most of the Student Senate term last year, Juan sat in the back with Agro, which apparently Evan's trying to end. But Juan, he'd sit there most times, and then you'd walk in next week, and he'd be at the front. And that's kind of how Juan is. He likes to float around, and he'll go up to anyone, and he'll just start talking to you. If he hasn't done that to you yet, he probably will. And we keep talking about relationships, and all their personal attributes that would make them a good pro tem. But I think that's where Juan really, I think that's where his skills are amplified, is in that relational aspect. I've seen Juan grow a lot over in my time here at Kansas State, and I'm excited to see him grow in the next year, and I want Student Senate to capitalize on that. So that's why you should vote for Juan.
Thank you, Senator Stout. Are there any speeches for Peyton Lynn? Josh Diaz de Leon.
Hey everybody, how you doing? My name is Josh Diaz-Leon. For those of you who do not know me, I've had the pleasure of serving our student body as the Director of Basic Needs, Senator representing the College of Education, as long as being a caucus leader, as well as fulfilling my time as an intern through our intern program. And if you don't know me through any of those things, I also loiter around K-State a lot. I'm kind of a K-State rat. But however, today I have the pleasure of speaking on behalf of our choice, your choice, to make a real impact on the future of not only our body, but K-State in general, right? So while we reflect on our important choice and come together to select the best candidate for this job, let's be frank with one another. This body has been changing in many, many ways, as it has been, that folks a few years ago would have thought would have been unimaginable, right? So the fact that we are where we are today is ultimately solely based on student choice, right? So when we were elected, we were committed to making decisions that would best benefit the students who elected us to our offices. You are all now in a position to make a choice that will ultimately guide the rest of this term. So good luck making the best choice. But also, you've also been given the responsibility of making a tough choice, right? I've known Juan since I met him in high school. We almost got kicked out of Stuco camp together. So I've known him for quite a bit of time. And you guys have a great opportunity here today to pick a great leader. But while everyone here tonight is well aware of Ms. Peyton Lynn's roles and track record here in SGA, I think it would be disrespectful to not comment on her character, right? So when we reflect on the responsibilities of Speaker Pro Tem, Student Senate, there are a few qualities that really stand out, right? So excellent communication skills, adaptability, empathy, goal setting, commitment, and preparation. These definitely are traits that someone who's wanting to be Speaker Pro Tem may have to learn to acquire when fulfilling the role. But I did not think of Speaker Pro Tem when I first was creating that list, right? I thought of every great teacher that I ever had. And let me tell you something, Peyton, she is not just a great candidate for the Speaker Pro Tem, but has proven herself to be a committed champion of her future classroom as an aspiring educator. I don't know if you folks have walked into a high school or a school in general, especially recently in this day and age, but let me tell you right now, it's not the best. It's not very pretty. On top of that, a lot of those kids speak TikTok. I'm not saying that some of you guys don't do that as well, though, right? Guilty is charged. And much like Speaker Pro Tem, Teachers' time is not going to always be financially or positively compensated, right? But Peyton doesn't want to go into education to get rich or to benefit herself, to only propel herself to be successful. No, she's not. She's going to be successful by bringing up others with her, similarly to how she would execute the role of Speaker Pro Tem as well. She, like most of us, has learned a lot this past year. And if there's something that I can respect about someone, it is embracing failure and turning their ability to turn their failure into success. There's absolutely nothing wrong with someone being passionate about their causes, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with someone being invested in their people as well. And with Peyton in this role, you all in our student body will be her cause, and she will support you and supplement you with whatever you need to be successful. Because if she's going to do that with middle schoolers and high schoolers, you bet your butt she's going to show up for you all as well. So we are discussing someone who was brought into our chamber of governance since day one and has grown with it as well. Someone who's stuck with our system of governance as early as she could. And if you ask who I would want to be on my team, it'd be the person who, while has changed multiple individuals in and outside of this chamber, has never given up on it, challenged multiple individuals, and continues to stay committed even after being given reasons to no longer be a part of it, right? So you want someone in that office that may have come from a different life from you, but that can still come to your level and can still listen to you, to give you that effort. Someone who admits they don't know it all, but are willing to learn. Do not just yourself a favor, of your constituents a favor, but vote for the gal who's not afraid to disagree with you and to be the authentic leader that is willing to have conversations and is open to changing their own mindset if there truly is a better route to conflict. Like I said, with the whole kind of vibe of just choice, you have a great responsibility here today, and a really exciting responsibility. But I would appreciate it for you all. I obviously can't vote. If you could cast your vote for Peyton Lynn.
All right, thank you, Josh. Is there any debate for Juan Pineda-Gomez? Senator Thomas.
I'd like to defer my speaking rights to Manny.
Thank you. And before Manny starts, I just want to say if you are in the Zoom and you have debate, just throw it in the chat so I know that you're wanting to be recognized. Thank you.
Thank you. Mics. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Manny, and I had the opportunity to serve as the Multicultural Affairs Director last term. So tonight, I'm speaking for Juan, and oh God, I have a lot of stories, but I will get to it. But you see, Juan, last term at the very first SGA speakeasy I attended, came up to me and he goes, "You're that dude, right?" And I'm like, "Wait, what?" He goes, "You're Manny." And we just started having this conversation. We talked about a lot of things, but the one thing he brought to my attention was we need to have something that IFC can relay on when it comes to multicultural stuff going on. And I said, why not? I'll do it. Within a week, this man helped me get in contact with all IFC presidents, and we planned something. But that's basically how I met Juan. Juan, I seriously do not know how to describe him. He's goofy, he's funny, and he's such a good company. I mean, I get coffee with him almost every 2 weeks, and we just talk about life, talk about SGA, talk about classes. And he is a great person to have a conversation with. You can walk up to him and he will talk to you literally about anything. But what I like the most about him is his drive, his grit, and his passion. He's passionate about everything he does. He is so, he has this drive. I want to get to know everyone in this room, and I promise you, by the end of September, he will get to know you down to the very detail. And Juan is a very outspoken person. He's something I also like about him is more of his work ethic. I would say he has the most incomparable work ethic with most professionals I've worked with. And I work in the medical field, so you would know what that looks like. And he just has this whole passion to drive change. When it comes to multicultural affairs, Juan has taught me that I am more than my race. I am more than my skin color. The only thing that matters about me is my voice. And I think that is how he would bring much diversity into this organization that is lacking so much in diversity. Like, we have intellect, we have personality, we have different perspectives. But when it comes to diversity, the man to trust about this will be Juan, because his ideas, his ways, I can tell you, would help this organization in so many ways. So I would say cast your vote for whoever you would like, but do remember that credit is due to whoever deserves it the most.
All right, thank you for that debate, Manny. Are there any speeches for Peyton Lynn?
I defer my speaking rights to Mr. Cameron Covert.
Thank you for waiting for recognition, Senator Long.
You nodded your head. Ouch.
All right, Cameron, whenever you're ready.
How do you do, folks? I'm here in Louisiana, so I apologize for zooming in, but really excited to speak a little bit about Peyton. I also just would like to start out by saying there's not a bad option for you guys to go with here. I've got to know Juan over the course of the last term. He's awesome. Juan is definitely someone that I look up to a lot. But with that being said, in the past year, I was able to work pretty extensively with Peyton in EOF and in my student body vice president role, and then just be able to talk to her some as she was going through the campaigning process. And I'm preaching to the choir here. You guys have heard Peyton debate. You've worked with her throughout, the last term and as you come into this term. But I really just want to emphasize, for one, Peyton is someone that sees issues, takes initiatives, does the work, and then she doesn't necessarily care, if her name's on the project, which is something that I think is really valuable for the pro tem. A lot of times when you look at pro tem, you're thinking of the vice president of the legislative branch as someone that, I know something about being vice president. I think she'd do a really good job in that role. It's hard to follow up the speakers that have already went because they did a much more eloquent job, and I drove 12 hours today and I'm tired, but I believe Peyton would do a great job. So thank you guys. Stay out of trouble.
You too.
Thanks for that debate, Cameron. Are there any more speakers for Juan Pineda-Gomez? Senator Rogers?
Hello, my name's Tatiana Rogers, and I'm in the College of Engineering with Juan. So I know I haven't been in SGA for a long time, so I feel more comfortable speaking about my personal relationship and personal experiences with Juan, but I have been friends with Juan for a long time. Juan is not only a great peer, but he's a great friend. He offers advice that is beneficial for you. He is excellent at explaining things to people so that they understand. He helped me tremendously in the programming classes that I took and helped me code in C. He told me that, there's supposed to be a semicolon here and you missed that, and he explained it and he explained it better than the teacher actually did. And also as well for circuit theory, and that class was really hard, and he was not judgmental of me at all when I did not understand anything. He helped me with concepts about a test that was like 10 minutes before a test that happened in the Intro to Computer Engineering class. I was very confused, and he helped me understand it very quickly. He's the type of friend that would help you with an assignment that's due at 11:59 p.m. and it's like 11:50 p.m. or like maybe even 11:58. He is also extremely involved in the College of Engineering, the Multicultural Engineering Program, Greek Life, and SGA. Not only is he kind and caring, but he also achieves great grades, and he is not lacking in his ambition department. It is inspiring working with someone that loves what he does and has such great knowledge for it as well. He puts in a great amount of effort for SGA and will not disappoint anyone in this position because he does things thoroughly and gets the job done. He encouraged me to join SGA, and he made me realize how important it is for a woman and also as well a first-generation American to be in the College of Engineering Senate and to represent the female population as well. Even though I do not currently have a class with him, I see him walking around campus. He is always willing to stop what he's doing, have a conversation with you, give you great advice, have a joke. He's really funny. If you haven't talked to him, please talk with him. You'll laugh within like the first 30 seconds of talking with him. He is an exemplary example of kindness and patience for the College of Engineering, SGA, and as a friend, and that is truly unique. He also has really great experience in financial aspects. That was a really big, well, not really big, but it was a topic of conversation during the presentations about financial experiences as he was on the Student Services Fee Committee. So I ask you to vote for Juan. Obviously, it's totally up to you, but you will not go wrong voting for Juan, and I think that he will be an amazing job. He'll do an amazing job, and he has a great role to be in this position. Thank you.
Thank you for that debate, Senator Rogers. Is there any further debate for Peyton Lin? Oh, Senator Kidd.
All right, good evening, everyone. So I think it's important to give context to set the stage for me wanting to speak on behalf of Peyton Lin. So who am I? So last week I introduced myself as the guy that claims to be the longest serving student senator, which is true. Fact check me. I bet I will not be wrong. But also the guy that likes the gold alpine moss or whatever from Dr. Squatch, that guy, right? So with that being said, this is my ninth or 10th year serving as a student senator, not consecutively, but I mentioned before that did it during my undergrad and then did it for the ending of my master's program, going to my doctoral program. So what qualifies me to be able to be objective to evaluate candidates that are running for this position? Well, I just said it. With that being said, the role of Speaker Pro Tempore has changed, has morphed, has evolved throughout these past few years. But again, with that, seeing it change, I've been able to take a really good look at the people being voted into those positions, who they were prior to starting that role and who they became after being in that role. So with that being said, tonight we've heard a lot of good things about both candidates. I have served on the student services fee, have done that for like 5 or 6 terms of my total tenure with SGA. So that's where I got to see Juan a lot in that role throughout this past year. But with Peyton, not only have I seen her in this space as being a senator, I also see her in the realm of what she mentioned in her speech about her outside involvement to SGA. So many of you may not know, but I actually work at K-State aside from being a grad student. So I am the Assistant Director of Enrollment Management. So that role, part of that includes overseeing and advising the College of Ed Ambassadors program. And so as Peyton mentioned in her speech, she served as the co-chair for recruitment for this past year. And so again, I've been able to see her this year in a role outside of SGA and her role in SGA. With that, she's demonstrated her leadership ability in multiple ways through SGA. So she mentioned her making the special committee on strategic oversight. So that's clear evidence right there. Her ability to be empathetic and caring for others, I think, has been demonstrated by how she passionately advocates for those to have voices in this space, where it's been discussed before in this body where SGA can be regarded as a space where others don't exactly feel like their voices can be heard. So she's not afraid to admit when she's wrong. I intentionally asked the question of, describe a time when you've made a mistake. So that's one of those behavioral-based questions that former Senator Scharnhorst mentioned. I asked that on purpose to both candidates to really get a good feel for how they react to a question like that, just to observe some things that they say, some things that they don't say. And so I feel like her humility and low levels of hubris can lend itself to be very appropriate for the role of Speaker Pro Tempore. With that, she already talked about her ability to execute, but I also think her ability of ideation is something to speak on as well. Again, the role of Speaker Pro Tempore, from my perspective, like I said before, has grown and evolved. And so I do think that there's a lot of creative things that can be done with that position, and I think she's the one to make it happen. earlier, a question was asked by someone, I forget who it was, but it was about, it was actually by Jessica. It was about the time dedicated to organizations, both in Senate and outside of Senate. And so I can personally attest with my role of being a senator and with my role with working for the College of Education that I've seen her personally split her time with organizations. Specifically, what I see is that when we have our monthly exec meetings for College of Ed ambassadors, I've seen her come in to do her role with recruitment, give updates for College of Ed ambassadors, and then she sneaks out to go to, I believe it was Senate exec meetings or other SGA related meetings. I do not know. I was doing my job and being with my ambassadors. So, but with that being said, I think Peyton is the best person for the job. I think we are set with a win-win situation. I think both candidates are great, but I think contextually speaking, I've been able to see more evidence of Peyton's maturity, her growth, not only in the body of SGA, but outside. And I think that can be what can be really useful to help round out the leadership for this upcoming term. So I encourage you all to vote for Peyton Lynn to be your next speaker pro tempore. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator Kidd. Is there any further debate for Juan Pineda-Gomez?
Max Harmon on Zoom.
Yeah. Max, are you the president of a student organization?
I defer my speaking rights.
Okay, Senator Phillips has deferred his speaking rights, so never mind. Max, whenever you're ready.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Speaker Porter. Hello, everybody. I know there's a lot of new faces in the room, so I am very excited and pleased to be able to speak to you tonight all about what I think are two excellent candidates who I have gotten to know quite well. So if I haven't gotten the pleasure to meet you, I served as the chair of the Student Services Fee Committee last year, and I got to have a lot of really great interactions with both Juan and Peyton, both in and outside of that role. As Juan mentioned, he was the vice chair of the committee. So he was my right hand. And I want to make one point. He undersold himself on the work that he did for that committee. And vice chair is very much one of those roles that nobody sees the work that you do, literally. Like, unless they're going in and looking at those minutes, nobody's really going to see the kind of work that you do in a role like vice chair. And that's why they're so important. And Juan really undersold himself because of purely a miscommunication on my part. Juan spent the entire year nearly word for word transcribing student services fee meetings. And that's not your average SGA meeting either. Those are full 2-hour-long meetings. Those are the longest standing committee meetings we usually have. And with some of the densest information being thrown around in terms of numbers and opinions and hour-long presentations from entity directors. And so Juan he just took all of that in stride and he just rose to the level of expectation. He thought that his role was to basically transcribe those meetings, and that's what minutes were. And he rose to that. And it was to his much relief when running for this position that he wouldn't have to be transcribing 2 full meetings for both Senate and Senate exec. Bullet point minutes are a little bit easier to take. But that was one thing that he really undersold himself on. And then for Peyton, Peyton is one of the individuals who I think I probably have gotten to speak with and or against and or with solving problems, possibly some of the most in the room right now. Peyton and I have had the distinct pleasure of forming solutions, of coming together and having really different opinions on things. And she is one of the best individuals that I've gotten to work with in terms of we've put together something really unique. She was a driving force behind some of the big restructuring of the committee work that we passed last term. And a lot of those ideas wouldn't have come about without her input and her advocacy. So my main points for the speech tonight is to walk you through, those are kind of my qualifications. And then we've heard a lot about the character and the personalities of both of these candidates. But above all else, I'm a scientist. I'm a biochemistry major. I am data-driven. And so I'm here to kind of sum up and wrap up some of the data points in my analysis on how I see this Speaker Pro Tem race shaking out. We talked a lot about some of the strengths of some of the candidates. Something that hasn't been spoken yet, I don't think, for Juan, was part of that underselling himself on that minute taking, but it was very briefly mentioned at the start. But his level-headedness is something that I really appreciate about Juan, and is something that I really see being critically important to the role of Speaker Pro Tempore. It's always been my philosophy that a position of leadership in any organization, but especially one as critical and as policy-making as SGA, is the responsibility that leadership has to not, they carry a big stick, and to not overswing that stick and damage the decision-making capabilities of the body. It is one of the highest compliments that I think anybody can receive, that if somebody's saying that, seeing them going into a vote and not knowing which way they're going to vote all the time. I think that is a hugely important characteristic to have, and that speaks to the critical thinking and level-headedness that we haven't spoke to, but one of the big important parts of holding any of these SGA leadership chairs is not just sitting at the front of the room during SGA Senate meetings, it's also having seats at the table with meetings with administration, meeting often weekly and certainly monthly with the highest of the high university level administrators. And when I'm looking for a candidate to fill one of those positions, it is critically important to me that people going into those roles are capable and prepared to maintain level heads and to maintain the best level of shared governance in that philosophy, because that's what makes K-State SGA special. And I think Juan is the candidate who's able to do that. And I say that because I've gotten to work with Peyton, and she is one of, indeed, just like everybody has been saying this debate, she is one of the most outspoken, excellent student advocates that I've ever met. And those are such important qualities. And that is exactly the reason I'm not speaking for her for this position in particular. I think her strengths really gear her towards positions where she's able to speak up, speak in front of the room, to convince people of things. And I am deadly afraid of having a person who is so dedicated to that philosophy of governance in a role like Speaker Pro Tem, whose role is explicitly to be at the front of the room, to be neutral, to help facilitate the decision-making of the body. And I've gotten to have deep conversations with both of these candidates. And after all of those conversations, I know I'm happy to say, and especially hearing the questions and presentations tonight, that I think all of those points have been made across to both of the candidates. But I am very particular in thinking that Juan should be the candidate to go into a position like Speaker Pro Tem. And I really want somebody as outspoken and passionate and as energetic as Peyton to be in a position where she can do more advocacy, where she can do more representation on the parts of students and get things done. So that is two of the main things. And so all of the above, talking about finances and neutrality, those are all really important things that Juan, I think, is certainly going to contribute to the best office culture. Speaking as somebody who did not have a technical vote in the voting body of Student Senate last year, I can speak to the power that being in those offices has. And I think it was such critically important to the big work that we were able to do last year that we had such a neutral and welcoming and think tanky culture around all three of those SGA offices. And I think putting Juan in this position of Speaker Pro Tem sets up the governing body in the structure in the best absolute way to facilitate both cross-branch communication, but then also intra-branch communication. I have concerns about Peyton and Evan both have done excellent jobs in their student advocacy in the past, but tend to come down very similarly and very passionately on a number of the same items, and that's not always able to be floating through the entire body of the Student Senate. One of his best strengths is being a bridge builder. He is somebody who's able to float between all sides of Student Senate, And I think that is incredibly, incredibly important with the current makeup of the rest of SGA leadership, which is almost completely set at this point with the announcement of Chief of Staff. Very important to put somebody who's able to maintain that culture within those SGA offices. And so those are my biggest concerns. I absolutely love both of these candidates. Don't feel bad if you have close ties to either of them. Vote for who you think would be best for SGA and best for themselves in this role of Speaker Pro Tempore. And because of all of the reasons that I've outlined, I urge you to see Juan as being the best candidate of choice for Speaker Pro Tempore. And I cannot wait, and I say this with all the love in my heart, to see what all of the big things both of these candidates do, no matter what role they end up in SGA. Thank you all so much.
All right, thank you for that debate, Max. Are there any further speeches for Peyton Lin? Senator Gomez.
Setting my stopwatch now because there are just so many good things to say about Peyton. But first, let me be clear. I think, as previous speakers have mentioned, we have two phenomenal candidates for this position, and I think that we're going to be in good hands either way. But with that, I kind of want to talk about first my observations of Peyton's character and working on her campaign team, her willingness to dive in, work with people, and talk to people, and also some questions that Peyton answered for me on a phone call that I had with her last night. So first, I do want to kind of mention that I believe Peyton has the heart, the head, and the guts for this role. I think that's evident because she is such a good advocate. And I think that she will use those skills as an advocate in this role by providing students the tools that they need to be successful, whether those are students who are already in this body of people or students outside of that. And I think that she's a very welcoming person who will help to invite people in, and I think that is shown through her presentation when she talked about having SGA just be more inclusive and the action steps that she would take to achieve that. So next are my observations of Peyton as working on her campaign team with her. So I managed their social media for the campaign that Peyton ran on as vice president, and so I got to work very closely with her, and I was beyond impressed with her dedication. Peyton had late nights. She was doing my job when I couldn't. When I said, Peyton, this is too much on my plate, like I have to focus on other things, she picked up the slack that I couldn't carry, and she did other people's jobs. And I do recall having a conversation in public hall, sitting down with Marta and Peyton, and Marta and I had to leave, but Peyton stayed there for 2 more hours working on the campaign, and I just think that really shows what kind of a hard worker Peyton is and how she truthfully, to her own detriment, will put SGA above all. And so I just think that that's really impressive and so selfless. And I think I do have a concern with one being a college, in the College of Engineering, the time and time management. I think that I've seen Peyton really be able to put SGA first, like I said, whether that's to her own detriment or not. And so I think that Peyton has the time management skills and the time available to her to be able to put SGA first. Additionally, I think Peyton has this willingness to dive in and just do things, get things started, not be afraid. And I think that's really where the guts part of this comes in. I have never seen Peyton start something and then stop because it was too hard. I've always seen her persevere, even in the face of adversity. And I just think that that is, you know, really where her advocacy does shine through, and she can do that by helping other senators and other members of SGA accomplish their own goals. And so finally, Peyton answered some of my concerns. So one of the questions I asked her was, hey, you and Everett are great friends. Like, tell me how that's gonna work in the office. Tell me how you are going to get more people who are not just a part of your friend group into that office. Because I do think that that's like a really large concern, but she absolutely assured me through her answer that that wouldn't be a problem. And so I myself, in this past term, as communications director and being a senator before, I have countless times watched Peyton and Evan disagree and have fiery debate. And I think that that's very important to have that conflict and clash of ideas. But that still doesn't discount the fact that they do have like a close friendship relationship. And when I expressed this to Peyton, she really just like turned this into a positive that I see as being really valuable because they already have this good working relationship. They feel very comfortable from Peyton's point of view, having differing opinions and differing ideas. And so I think that that working relationship that they already have will be very beneficial in the role so that we do have that clash of ideas and that can happen in an open space between the two of them. And so I lost my point. This is it. I was also concerned about Peyton, having all of these, having many speeches that were, big and fiery, and we all love her for that. And so I was concerned with the issue of neutrality, but that really comes into the point of the position of pro tem, where you're helping other students and advocating for them and helping them achieve their own goals. And Peyton assured me that this is something that she's very excited to do. And leaving that aspect behind of being an advocate who gets up here and has fiery debate in the best way, doing that, channeling that energy to help other students attain and achieve their own goals will be just as satisfying and will be something that she wants to succeed at. So yes, my time is over. Vote for Peyton because I believe she has the head, heart, the guts, and the time management skills, as well as the time to be able to succeed in this role. And Juan's really great too. We all know it. So either way, we're going to be in good hands. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Gomez, for that debate. Is there any further debate for Juan Pineda-Gomez? Jessica Binkley.
All right, hi guys. I'm gonna be honest with you, I know these get long, but I really hope you're listening right now because I do feel like I have a couple different things to say about Juan than what has been stated already. So Juan and I are friends, I would say, but really not close friends at all. We've known each other through the Student Services Fee Committee, but that's really been about it. So I'm up here because I truly believe, like everyone else, that Juan would be everyone else speaking for Juan, that Juan would be the best person for this position. Through working with Juan this past year, I've seen firsthand the dedication and drive that he has to improve not only our school, but also the Senate and its processes. Juan is one of those people that picks just a few things and really puts his heart and soul into those few things. For all of our sake, I'm extremely grateful that he has chosen SGA and specifically the Senate to be one of those worthwhile things for him. When I was a senator, I wouldn't have wanted someone that needed to split their time on helping me or helping this body. Juan is also one of those people that can do about 10 different things at once. I think Max kind of highlighted that. But I wish I could do that without getting flustered. I really can't. He does it so effortlessly. And with the chaos that can sometimes ensue in this body, I think that would make Juan the perfect person to assist Evan. Lastly, Juan is someone who does more listening than he does speaking. And I think that's something that's really important being a leader and being in the speaker pro tem role in general. He's going to listen to each and every person that surrounds him before he speaks, before he gives his ideas. He could talk all day, but he really listens first. So with all of those reasons, I think that that is why he is the best candidate. Thank you.
Thank you for that debate, Jessica. Is there any further debate for Peyton Lynn? Senator Pondillo.
Hello, you guys. It has been a long time, but I'm going to make this short. So first, I want to issue a trigger warning. I will be talking about some issues that may trigger some audiences. Continuing on. Today, I'm here to speak upon someone who lights up a room whenever she walks in, Peyton Lynn. Peyton Lynn has a personality that is very uplifting and infectious. Actually, face reveal, sorry, can't do this mouse thing. Some person in the back's probably like, put it back on. I agree. Anyways, I began knowing Peyton in DEI. During that time, I was just an intern exploring SGA and what I could do to make an impact. During my first semester here, I struggled finding my sense of being in K-State. I felt as if facts about me and who I am and the experiences I've been through were just simply not viewed as important. I felt out of touch and not included into very much, as I felt I would never be a part of SGA. There are many, many people who are in this room and who aren't in this room that also feel that way. There's a lot of big names also in this room, and I could never feel myself living up to that standard. Feeling unwelcome and unworthy, my flame was coming to a cease. Then one day, I was sent an email by Peyton about her and Marta's campaign. The email contained topics about which I personally have experience or am a part of. Feeling that I wasn't alone on key issues interested me in being a part of something bigger than myself. Through working on their campaign, I had talked to two amazing, powerful leaders on campus. Leaders who welcomed me and were accepting of who I am and embraced it. Through this, my flame started becoming more bright. One day I was chatting with Peyton in what was like 20-degree weather outside, and we were talking, we bonded. We talked about how we see ourselves in different positions and how we can create change for students. I talked to her about how I was struggling with my mental health, and for the first time in forever, I felt like I could be vulnerable to her. I've always felt that I can only live up to being someone who makes jokes, someone who's very extroverted. But being with her in that moment made me feel as if I could open up to her and others. At the end of our work, I felt my flame become more abundance and my fire in SGA begun. Payne has been a part of many issues that don't relate to her, but she puts herself in that place. And she believes that a place where everyone is included, everyone thrives. I felt that I was protected and welcomed around her, and she showed empathy and sympathy and believed in me. Just a simple gay person of color from Oklahoma. Peyton put her torch to my flickering flame and many others on campus. By the end of the campaign, I wrote letters to people who helped me the most here in SGA finding my purpose and belonging. At that point, I felt it was the correct time to be vulnerable and write about the impact of her campaign and Marta's campaign. I opened up about my sexual assault and how her initiative and compassion for the issue meant a lot to me. Tonight's vote isn't just for the next pro tem. It's about finding someone that has passion, leadership, fair judgment, the ability to delegate, the correct qualifications, and someone who comes up with innovative ideas, and someone who's ultimately an ally and that will reach different groups. All these assets are among Peyton, and that's why I believe a vote for her is a vote for something great to start.
Thank you, Senator Pondillo. Is there any further debate for Juan Pineda-Gomez? All right, is there any further debate for Peyton Lynn? Senator Barron.
Hello, everyone. So I know the night is getting late, and generally we don't like having people speak back to back for the same candidate, but many people tonight have talked about the character of both of these individuals, and both show amazing leadership and character. But for me, character is hard to vote on solely alone, especially when you aren't personally connected to these candidates strongly. So this is my speech for new senators or people who don't know these people well enough to adequately make their vote based on character alone, like myself. I am looking solely at the presentations and questions tonight that we have seen and my understanding of what the pro tempore office is supposed to do. And I chose, so tonight I will be talking about the treasurer duties and the college caucuses and what each candidate's policies are. And I chose both of these because both of them talked about it in their presentation tonight. So first, starting with treasurer duties, I believe Peyton was very convincing with her experience. She has experience in 3 funding committees, ACT, SCTE, and EOF. All 3 funding committees that require choices with a lot of money on the line. And additionally, ACT and SCTE were both chaired by the treasurer in the past, something that the pro tempore now takes the role of. For those of you who don't know, the treasurer has been gone with, and now Peyton takes over the role of treasurer. And even though the treasurer doesn't actually chair these committees anymore because it's a standing committee, I think there's still something to say that she served on both of these committees and the treasurer was also in charge of them. Additionally, and what I think is the most important topic and policy that we should be assessing when looking at who we should vote for are the college caucuses. The college caucuses have been very underutilized in previous terms, and that's why both of my questions tonight, one for each candidate, was about the college caucuses. And while both had good ideas, I thought Peyton's outline was more concrete. And in my opinion, more clearly defined roles leads to more probable and successful action. And I think we should be voting for these two candidates, yes, on character, because character is very important, but I think both of these candidates have the character for this job. And so if you need something beyond that, I think we should now look at the policies that both of them want to bring forth to the pro temp role. And I think Peyton is the winner in that regard because she has more defined action for what she wants to accomplish, and her experience in the ACT, SCTE, and EOF roles surpass that of her opponent. Thank you.
Thank you for that debate, Senator Barron. Is there any further debate for Juan Pineda-Gomez? Senator Outry.
I move to address the previous question.
It has been moved and seconded to call the previous question. Are there any objections? Nope. It's a hand vote. So all those in favor of moving to the previous question?
Parliamentary inquiry, can you announce proxies for the night and who can vote for their proxy as well?
Yes, I can. Thank you. So I apologize for not doing this earlier, but our proxies for the night are Phillips for Murphy, Grills for DePaz, Johnson for Davidson, and Solomon for Bannister. So when we do a hand vote, if you're not familiar, proxies can raise two hands, and that represents them voting for whoever they are proxying for. So all those in favor of moving to the previous question?
Could you quickly describe what that means? What's the previous question?
Excellent question, President Volgamore. So the previous question is basically calling a vote immediately on whatever the item on the floor is. So after 5 speeches in the positive and 5 speeches in the negative, or in this case, just 5 speeches on each side of the debate, the motion for the previous question is in order. That's defined in our governing documents. So we've actually had 6 and 7 speeches on each side. So the motion for the previous question was in order 3 speeches ago. So when Senator Outry called the previous question, he was basically asking that we immediately vote on the issue on the floor, or in this case, closed debate. So with that being said, all those in favor of moving to the previous question, please raise your placards now. All right, all opposed, same sign.
Complaint.
Okay, and the ayes have it, so we have moved to the previous question. So I'm going to go ahead and email out the link for voting. I know last week it was a Google form. This week it's going to be a survey through Org Central. It looks exactly the same. It's just via the Org Central software. Senator Phillips.
What do we do if we're a proxy?
So if you are a proxy, go ahead and enter where it asks for the name of the person you're proxying for, and where it asks for the K-State email. If you know it, go ahead and enter it. If you don't know, you just put like, I don't know. And then vote. If they've instructed you to vote in a certain way, I would prefer that you vote that way, but you're their proxy, so you have their vote. Okay, that should be on its way. Let me know when someone gets it.
Got it.
Is Ariana an option on that form?
Yes.
Okay. I apologize for that. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to edit the form, and then I'm going to clear the responses, and then everyone that has already submitted a response, go ahead and submit it again.
And thank you all for those who voted for me.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. If you submitted a response, please submit it again.
What's up?
Might just be officers.
Oh.
Only we get to vote.
Would you like me to change it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can do.
Nice.
Hey, Ari, can you mute my email somehow? It's gonna ding every time someone votes.
Yeah, I'm already on it. I lowered the volume.
Okay, if everyone refreshes their trash.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yep. Did you have to log into work?
That's what I have to keep telling myself back there.
I will be back in just a moment.
Hey, do you want to let us know?
I really wish I would have brought my
Well, yes.
Back and yours over here like
Would you raise your hand if you didn't get a chance to submit your vote or if the form didn't work for you? Okay, so we have all of our votes in, and I want to say congratulations to Juan Pineda Gomez.
Please raise your right hand and say, "I will," after I say the things that I'm about to say. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Speaker Pro Tempore and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association.
I will. Hey everybody, my name is Juan Pineda Gomez. Once again, my major is biomedical engineering from Lenexa, Kansas, and my favorite smell hasn't changed in the past couple hours, so it's still summer rain / campfire. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, we will now be moving into second open period. Are there any speakers for second open period tonight? Senator Gomez.
Hi, y'all. I just want to share an opportunity to join an organization that I'm a part of. So it is the Student Success Ambassadors, and it's a part of the Academic Achievement Center in Holton Hall. So I am currently the vice president of this organization. And so really what we do is we want to tell students about the resources that we have on campus, such as academic coaching, peer tutoring, and some other opportunities as well. So we're really just passionate about people knowing what resources are out there for them, because a lot of times there is something that can help you, you just don't know about it. So we try and share that information. And if you saw the Resiliency Week campaign on the K-State Success Instagram, yeah, Ethan was in it. He was one of our resilient students, so shout out. But that's kind of what we do. We are recruiting, and we are really interested in getting some underclassmen members, because currently there are 3 of us, and we will all be graduating in the next year. So if anyone is interested at all, I would really love to talk to you. I did not give anyone my contact information, but you know where to find me. If you're interested, please reach out. There's lots of room to, because we are such a small organization, there's lots of room for growth and to really make your ideas happen. So if you're interested, I'll stick around a little while. Please let me know. Thanks.
Any questions for Senator Gomez? Yeah, Chief of Staff Richenberg.
I want to hear everything.
You wanted to hear Chief of Staff Richenberg?
Yeah, I like the sound. Okay, hello everyone. Well, first off, cabinet applications are open until tomorrow at midnight. So if you're interested in that, come talk to any. Oh my God, there's 3 of us. Any of the 3 of us. I'm so sorry. It's so late. But also, chief of staff has been a position that I've wanted for a while, pretty much since the beginning of my SGA journey, and I really want to extend, this to all of you. I know I'm part of the executive branch, but the legislative branch still has a place in my heart. And so if you ever want advice or just someone to talk to about SGA, I came from high school where I had no leadership experience, and then now I'm here. And so if you ever need help or anything with SGA life or anything in general, I'm probably gonna be in the office probably till 5 o'clock every day. So feel free to stop by. Literally, our door is always open, 95% of the time. So yeah, thank you.
Are there any questions for Chief of Staff Richenberg? I have one. I have one as well, Marta.
Oh, okay, yeah.
What other application is open until tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m.?
God, great question. Senate exec applications and judicial applications are all open until midnight tomorrow. So do that, please.
Andrew Booz.
Andrew Bruce, what else you got? Come on.
Okay, well, I was going to be annoying. Your door is always open except when it isn't open.
And now with that, we're gonna keep it open just because you said that.
Hey,
So
that's more access. That's good.
never win with this guy.
Oh, no.
Are there any further speakers for second?
The lovely Nathan Bothwell is on Zoom.
Speaking rights.
Oh, Senator Phillips,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Referring speaking rights.
To who? Yeah, you don't need speaking. You do? Is that? Yeah. All right, Nathan, take it away.
Hi there, everyone. I'm so excited to zoom in and say hi to you all. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nathan Bothwell. I was Speaker of the Senate. Oh God, two terms ago now. I can't believe maybe that far away. And then I was Speaker pro tempore the year before that. Hannah Heatherman, who's like the faculty representative, is like one of my best friends, and she was Speaker while I was pro temp. I actually was on this call tonight. I was invited to be here because both of the candidates are like a close personal friends of mine. I was just asked to be on tonight's call, and I never say no to student government. Love it so much, and so I am super excited just to be back and to say hi really quickly. So I did want to do one thing. I was asked to speak tonight, but again, since I'm close with both candidates, I didn't feel comfortable doing so during speeches, just because I think the students at K-State should decide who this role goes to. And so I didn't want to put any biases. And again, also, I don't know what I would have done, just because, again, they're both awesome candidates. But what I wanted to do was speak on the record and during the recording tonight. It's going to sound really dumb and really cheesy, but when I was in these roles, sometimes it was really, really nice whenever I doubted myself or my own skills or abilities to have a recording to go back to when I felt like I needed a pick-me-up from some of my peers. And so I kind of want to just speak about both candidates tonight. I know you've all both heard a lot about them, but this really isn't for all of you. This is for both Juan and Peyton. I wanted to just give them each a little moment here to shine a spotlight on them. And so if you'll all indulge me for just a couple minutes, I just want to kind of leave this as a little recorded gift to them so they can go back and find it later. But so first I'll speak to Juan. Congrats on winning the role of Speaker pro tempore. I think you'll do a great job, and I'm super excited for you. What I wanted to share about Juan, and if I were to have debated for him, what I would have talked about, is I remember my first interaction with Juan very, very clearly. Juan, so my senior year, I was in Blue Key Senior Honorary at K-State, and Juan actually interviewed for Quest, which is run by Blue Key, where you get asked a lot of the hard behavioral-based questions. And I remember Juan's interview very distinctly. I remember him coming on, and I remember scoring him really, really high when he came in for interviews. And the craziest part was that he didn't get into Quest, which shocked me, and I have no idea how that happened, because again, I just remember his interview clear as day, and just how he talked about the leadership experiences he'd had in high school. And I just remember looking at him and thinking wow, there's someone who's going to be a mover and shaker on K-State's campus. So it really bummed me out that he didn't get into Quest. But I was super fortunate to get the chance to interact with him later during my senior year because Blue Key Senior Honorary actually runs a self-development course in the spring semester called Catalyst. And so I had a Catalyst class that I taught. And it's really funny. My class started with like 6 or 7 students, which is like pretty typical. They're usually like small groups. And for some reason or another, every week for the first few weeks, I kept having a student drop out of my class. I swear to God, I'm not that bad a teacher. I just don't know what happened there. And so literally my class ended up just being Juan and one other student. And so like literally just once a week, the 3 of us would hop on Zoom and get together and just like talk about like ourselves and like our personal development. And it was just so wonderful and so enriching. I think Juan just shared so much about himself and like where he wanted to be and who he wanted to grow into. And it was so awesome. And I was so honored to have the chance to like play a part in like Juan's like self-development journey. He specifically asked me like, for this class, like we use examples from our own lives and how we grow. And I talked about my own time in student government. And Juan actually asked me like during that time, he's like, hey, like this sounds like really cool. Like I'd love to get involved. I'm like, you want to get in the intern program? I'm like, my friend Hannah's the intern coordinator. I'm like, here you go. And I sent him on over to the intern program. And ever since, he has appeared to have loved it, which I couldn't be happier. I was so glad I was able to make that connection for him. And again, I'm so like proud to see you in the role that you are now. Like, I'm not surprised in the slightest that you're going on to like leadership roles. And again, like wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Pause on Juan for a sec and switch to the other like phenomenal candidate you all heard tonight, and that was Peyton Lin. And my relationship with Peyton Lin goes back farther than most people in student government. So Peyton was in debate when I was a senior. We went to the same high school, so we both went to Tonganoxie. I was a hardcore SGA recruiter. I don't think anyone's been better since me about getting people from their high school into student government. Tonganoxie is very overly represented in this body, but I'm proud of it. And so like I had like Blake join and like lots of other people. But when I was in high school, my senior year, I was in debate. And I had a phenomenal experience my freshman year in debate with like some seniors who I really looked up to. And so there was like a group of 6 freshmen that year who were all in like novice debate. And Peyton was one of those 6 freshmen who was just like, I could just tell she was going to be like really awesome and like do really well. And so like, I just like personally took it upon myself to like mentor this group. And wow, was Peyton awesome. To put it in perspective, there was one weekend I didn't have a debate partner. And so I asked Peyton if she wanted to debate with me. And again, 3-year debate difference, like huge skill difference. And Peyton and I go to this debate tournament. And Peyton, you're going to have to, I don't remember what school it was, but I think we won the entire tournament together.
Baldwin.
Yeah, it was Baldwin. Yeah. And so like her and I won this debate tournament together, and she's a freshman, like debating and like open, like competitive debate. Like her communication and like speaking skills are like unrivaled. Like even at this time, she just was phenomenal, and she has such like a big presence. My other big interaction with her was she did summer theater. And I always like kind of served as a volunteer there. And so like growing up, I saw Peyton like being like just, you know, larger than life personalities. If that would, I'm certain that doesn't surprise you that Peyton was in those roles. And so I got to see her in those roles year over year. And it was always just a present, like it was just such a present to like see her in all those things and how like warm and like and engaging she was there. And so Peyton, I just want to let you know right now that like, even though this election like might not have gone your way, like I have zero doubts in my mind that you need a title to get anything done in this body. You are so capable, so talented, and so amazing that like there's no title or position that's going to hold you back, because you're still like going to get so much stuff done. And SGA is lucky to have you in it. And so I just wanted to, again, step up tonight and give both of them just a little pep talk, because again, I just know how these moments matter. So both of you, you did phenomenal. I think this is easily one of the most competitive elections this body has seen in literally like 5 or 6 years. And so you guys are in such great hands. I'm so excited to see what student government does. I know I'm that old fart who still like jumps in and like wants to like stay connected to things. But I truly believe that like student government can like change people and like give you so many new opportunities. And so I'm just super excited for all of you. Also, just want to give small shout outs to my other little mentee people. So Ariana, hi. Ethan, hi. RJ, hi. Love you guys all so much. You're all awesome. But I'll go now. I just wanted to say my little piece as you guys wrap up your meeting tonight. Have a lovely evening and have a great start to your guys' SGA term.
Thanks for that speech, Nathan. Are there any other second open period speakers? Senator Lynn.
Sorry, guys, I'm a really emotional person tonight. Evan mentioned this at the beginning of the meeting, but there is a student senate position on union governing board. I was the student senator who was like in that role last year and ended up as the vice president of UGB, and it's been a really, really great experience. I like being a part of that body a whole lot, and it's given me a really interesting perspective on the things that are going on, you know, kind of like the inner workings of this building that we all spend a whole lot of time in. So if anyone's interested in the SGA position on UGB, don't be afraid to come and talk to me, and I can definitely kind of like walk you through what that role is like. Yeah.
Thanks for that speech, Peyton. Are there any further second open period speakers?
Oh, you didn't even ask the question.
Does anyone have, Dean,
No, I have something to say, but I don't.
does anyone have rights for Maggie? Speaker Phillips? No. Oh, God. Senator Phillips. Yeah, Maggie. That was devastating.
Hi, everyone. I swear to God, this is the last time you're ever going to hear from me, so sorry. Quick announcement about some things going on and kind of some context for a thing that we do here in Student Senate, or you all now do. I'm out of it. So at the beginning of each meeting, we the speaker reads a land acknowledgement. And that land acknowledgement was written, it was kind of an idea that Nathan and I had during our speaker pro tem term, and then we delegated that to DEI, and they did a really fantastic job of coming up with that. It was voted through this body, and so now we read it every week. Just wanted to give that context for those of you who are newer here. It's been around for a couple years. But the focus on that was to really consider our place as a land-grant institution, the good history as well as the difficult history and the painful and violent history that comes along with that. I would encourage you all to take a look at the Collegian from today if you have a sec. There's a letter to the editor that two of my peers in one of my English classes wrote, and it's really about the history of the land-grant institution. It talks about the moral acts that stole the land so they were treaties, but we all know that those were kind of shoddy and that they I shouldn't say that we all know. It is proven that they were kind of shoddy and that the indigenous people who represented their tribes at those treaty meetings were taken advantage of and things like that, thus giving us stolen land for us to do the things that we do on it now. I would encourage you to take a peek at that to look at some of that history. And there's also some information about upcoming events coming up. So on April 12th, there's a Zoom event called Occupying Indigenous Land. Kanza, in parentheses, S, so the Kanza tribe that Kansas is named after. Perspectives on land acknowledgements, hashtag land back in K-State's history. There's an email, you need to email David McKay if you want that link. And then on April 21st, the Chapman Center for Rural Studies is hosting Kansas Without the Kanza, Understanding How the Kanza Homeland Became K-State, and that's at the Manhattan Public Library. So yeah, land grants are wonderful and they do a lot of wonderful things, but I think that it's important that we understand the difficult and painful history that comes along with it. So yeah, thanks so much.
Are there any questions? Senator Kidd.
Okay, sorry. I just want to ask a question for the record. I know that we can all use Google, but for our convenience, do you have the email address for David McKay on you?
Yes, I do. It's in this article. It is M-A-C-K-A-Y. So DB and then McKay spelled M-A-C-K-Y. A-Y. God bless. I will send it to Evan. He can make an announcement about it. So sorry. Any other questions that I can answer? Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, Maggie. Are there any further second open period speeches? Senator Phillips.
Not giving away rights this time. Hello, hello, everyone. All right, I got 3 things for you all. First, number 1, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to both candidates who ran tonight. I've seen them both put in tons of work for this position and have been had the pleasure of working with them over the past year and up to this point. And so this was a tight race and it was super cool. Thank you all for being engaged. This is a really important meeting and a really important position that we picked. Juan's about to find out it's a pretty difficult position too, but I have full confidence that he's going to do a great job. So thank you all for that, or for going through that long but really important process. And I'm really excited for that. Second, I wanted to take a second to shout out Nick, our outgoing speaker pro tem. As you all know, I was speaker last term, and I had the great pleasure of working with Nick for an extended period of time. And Nick is awesome. Nick picked me up a lot of different times, and so I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Nick and have everyone applaud for him because he's done a fantastic job. Last thing for you all, just as someone who's been new to this body before, and I know that we have a lot of new people out there, I promise you that these first 2 meetings are not what every single student senate is going to look like. These first 2 meetings are really important because we're selecting our leadership for the upcoming term, and that kind of sets the precedent for what we're going to be doing this year. But they can be a little bit boring, especially if you get into back and forth debates on the exact same topic. Granted, an important topic, but still the same one for hours, it can get a little exhausting. I promise you that's not what every meeting is going to be like. Here in a few weeks, we're going to be debating on legislation that is going to be impacting students. We're going to be debating on funding things, amending governing documents, passing commendations, all those various things. Just the very start of a term, you have some various logistical things that you have to take care of, which are really important, but they just have to happen. So I would really encourage you to, if these first 2 meetings are have been boring to you and you don't think this is your thing, stick it out a little bit longer. Wait until you see the actual work that this body does specifically to impact students, and I think that you'll be a lot more fulfilled with your time here. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything at all. My email address and phone number in my email signature, and you've all received an email from me before. So feel free to take a look at that if you ever need to contact me. Thank you all so much, and have a great rest of your night. Go Cats.
Thanks for that speech, Blake. Are there any questions? He's not taking them. Are there any further second open period speeches? Parliamentarian O'Donoghue.
Thank you. And as it were, I am the last one standing for the leadership for last term up here. So, thank you all. I would just like to remind everyone that the forms for shirts close on Friday night, and after that, I will keep all of your money. So if you want it back, please let me know. And I'm kidding about keeping the money part. I'm going to send out an email to everyone who hasn't responded to the form just to ensure that if they want their money back, they get their money back. But yeah, just remember to fill out that form if you'd like a shirt for last term. Thank you.
Yeah, Senator Grills.
Okay, this is definitely a dumb question because you've already explained it, but I just want to be sure. So let's say we are a person who's already paid and we know what we bought. Do we need to refill out the form to choose the new version of what we previously got?
No, since I'm going back over and emailing everybody who sent out a form. Also, you emailed me directly. If you have already directly contacted me, don't worry about it. I know you still in your order.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for that update, Ariana. And are there any further speeches? Gal Schonhorst.
President.
All right, so I'm speaking here because of my rights to speak as a club president, which I encourage all of you keep in mind and let your club presidents know that they can participate more actively in SGA. I'm up here to tell you Quiz Bowl Club, the club that I'm president of, is having a tournament this Saturday. It's completely free. It starts at 9 a.m. Unfortunately, everybody has to be there at 8:45, but that's what we have to do to play a ton of rounds. In the tournament, you'll answer questions about pop culture, music, books, TV and movies, that sort of thing. And I encourage anyone who wants to attend to reach out to me, either come visit me over there after we're adjourned, or you can find me, my email and stuff is like not exactly my name. I don't know that a lot of people know this, but you can actually search for people just from the search bar on the K-State website. So my name is, again, Gus Scharnhorst, the last name spelled S-C-H, and that should be enough to find me. But yeah, please, if you want a free opportunity to answer some trivia questions, it's competitive, there are prizes, please. And we receive student dollars from ACT committee some years. So please reach out and come play.
Are there any questions? Senator Solomon?
I got, I think, the same thing sent in like a group chat I'm part of. It says it's $12 per person, but I don't know if
So we have some backup like funding that we got from stuff that we're using to allow people to play for free. So
I the poster like that was sent out and stuff.
yeah, no, absolutely. So just just let me know and I'll make sure that you don't have to pay.
Andrew Booz?
Yeah, and it's team focused, right? So are you going to like make teams?
Yeah, so anyone who contacts me from SGA, I'll probably try to pair you up with other people from SGA. I will be running the tournament, so I can't play with you, but yeah.
You can play with me, Andrew.
But yeah, please. Yeah, we'll put together teams from people I think will fit well together. So,
Senator Grills.
Can you tell us about these prizes?
Oh, absolutely. So the tradition in Quiz Bowl is to give people book prizes. So if you like, I don't know what they are just yet. I'm going to buy them tomorrow. But if there's a particular book that you want, just reach out to me and I'll make sure it's up there. Yeah. And the prizes are for like the top scoring team in like the first bracket, top scoring team in the second bracket, and the highest individual scorer. So
Will there be an egg prize?
there will be an egg prize. That's for the person who answers the most questions incorrectly. One more thing I forgot to mention, not technically allowed, but I did want to say as a senator from the last term, I have a lot of knowledge about SGA in general. If you're new and you don't know what you're doing, please, I want to make myself available as a resource. Send me an email or come talk to me, and I'm happy to inform you about anything you might be confused about. I wrote a lot of legislation too, so if you have questions about that whole process, there will be presentations about it in the coming weeks, but I'm happy to elucidate anything about legislation.
Are there any further questions? All right, thanks for that speech, Gus. And are there any further second open period speakers? All right, seeing none, Pro Tempore Pineda Gomez, go ahead and take it away with your first Senate shoutouts.
Okay. Shout out to Evan for wearing a full suit. God is a woman and her name is Marta. Marta could stomp me with her heels. Blake for IT director. Shout out to Speaker Porter for being such a handsome young lad. Shout out to Senator Stout's extremely loud throat clearing. Even though Maggie Billman isn't an official SGA member anymore, she is the absolute best person I've ever met, and her polite impact on this campus will be felt forever. It is not hyperbole to say that I would die for Josh Diaz de Leon. Evan's collar tug made me belly laugh. Ha ha ha. Shout out to everyone that gave debate tonight. Shout out to former Pro Tem Saya for being phenomenal. Shout out to both Juan and Peyton for having the guts to run. Shout out to Evan for running his first full Senate as Speaker. Shout out to Evan for looking sexy. Shout out to Evan's legs. Speaker Evan deletes shoutouts.
That's not true.
Shout out to parliamentarian Ariana O'Donoghue for doing so well in their role. Shout out to everyone who gave debate tonight for either candidate. Shout out to everyone who deferred speaking rights. Shout out to Speaker Porter. Shout out to Peyton and Juan for their great presentations. Shout out to Rachel for always having something to plug. Shout out to Nick's last night as Pro Tem. Goodbye, Nick Saya. Great job to both candidates. Shout out to old SGA people speaking. Shout out to Lynn's speech. Shout out to Evan calling Blake speaker. Shout out to UGB. Shout out to spending too much time in the union. Shout out to the land acknowledgement. Shout out to Maggie K. Billman. Shout out to the BC Alarms. Shout out to Maggie. Shout out to former Chief of Staff Maggie Billman for a fantastic speech. Shout out to Blake and Nick's bromance. Go Cats. Hi Juan. Hello. I literally loved all the speeches. Bryce, stop playing Minecraft. I stared at Evan's legs the entire time. I broke the lid for table outlets. Evan, please look at me. Nick, thank you for never making eye contact. Dibs on booze for Quiz Bowl, please. All in caps.
right, Juan, go ahead and take it away with the second roll call.
Okay. Anderson.
Here.
Hatches.
Here.
Bannister. Bear.
Here.
Bellamy.
Here.
Broughton. I'm sorry, I'll get better at this. Broughton.
Here. It's
Thank you.
Broughton.
Broughton. I will catch that next time. Brown.
Here.
Byrne. Compton. Cranford. Davidson.
Here by proxy.
DePaz. Dole.
Here.
Getz.
Here.
Grills.
Here.
Grolmus.
Here.
Heatherman.
Here.
Hoffman.
Yep.
Johnson.
Here.
Calorico.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Nisley. Is it Nisley?
It's Nisley, but I'm here.
Nisley. Okay, I'll catch that one next time as well. Lister. Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
McFarland.
Here.
McPhee. Middahl.
Here.
Murphy. Navarro.
Here.
Oury.
Here.
Pelton.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
I'm here. Pundil. Porter. Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah. Yep. Rogers.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Saya.
Here.
There we go. Salmon.
Here.
Shear.
Here.
Shear.
Here.
Schindler.
Here.
Stout.
Here.
Taubert.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Volgamore.
Here.
And Wolf.
Here.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Juan. And with that, I'm now seeking a motion for adjournment. Senator Thomas.
I move to adjourn until next week, same time, same place.
It has been moved and seconded to adjourn until next week, same time, same place. Are there any objections? We now stand adjourned.
Oh, I totally thought you said no. I also didn't mean to sound as accusatory.